Good evening and welcome to the Right Side, June 3rd, 2025. We've got a great show tonight. I'm anxious to get in here. We're going to bring in our guest here in a minute. Just want to welcome everybody. Want to also give a shout out to the Lincoln Day sponsors we had, and the Lincoln Day people will be talking about that. We'll kind of recap that. If you weren't able to come, you missed a great dinner with some great guests, great speakers, and some great prizes, everything, and great awards too. So we're gonna do that. So I'm gonna put us on commercial here for just a second, and then we're gonna get started right away with our first guest, Representative Bryan Posthumus. So hang on. Welcome to the Right Side. And with me now is the brand new 7th District Chair, District 3, Livingston County Commissioner, Frank Sample. So welcome, Frank. You're very active in the American Legion.
Correct.
You're very active in the VFW.
This ideology is very damaging to the students who are told if you get this surgery and make do the social transition, the medical transition, then you'll be happy and all your problems.
Yes,
learned so much.
I'll bet. That's some institutional knowledge right there.
And we have, as a special guest, as I said earlier, we have Kevin Reiber with us. Welcome, Kevin. Thanks for joining us tonight.
Thank you for having me.
Go Boge. Thanks, Kelly.
There are
no shortage of them.
We love meeting new people.
Right, yes.
It's in good shape, so that's good news.
That safeness is not afforded to every citizen. They are special.
There's a difference between men and women. There's a biological difference, and it's time for us to stand up for our girls.
He went through, and he came back with a report said there's no way Detroit can meet its obligations on the tax base.
Yes.
So is this DEI focused just on the high school, or are they talking about all
district, the entire district?
Maybe that's kind of normal. It's really not. There tends to be little fiefdoms with, different police agencies and police versus fire and fire versus EMS and blah, blah, blah. That's not the case here. So Livingston County is very fortunate.
Hey, not too long ago, in many of our lifetimes, Detroit was the 3rd largest city in America.
Oh, yeah.
3.2 million citizens.
It's been a great experience. I mean, I have no regrets about moving here.
There's an old saying that the road will get you elected, the jail will get you unelected. So, give you an idea.
You have to have a reason to change for change to be enacted.
Why should you join the Livingston County Republican Party?
Why, you ask?
Yeah, why?
Why join?
The Republican Party is the party of common sense.
Common sense.
Republicans support the Constitution.
Republicans protect your rights.
We fight to keep your children safe.
We fight to keep boys and men out of girls and women's sports.
But we fight to keep boys out of girls' restrooms.
We fight for you.
What does the Republican Party do?
We help Republican candidates get elected.
Why is it important to elect Republicans?
Why is that important?
Why? Tell me, why is that important?
Livingston County is one of the safest counties in Michigan.
Livingston County has one of the lowest crime rates in the state of Michigan.
Livingston County has the lowest tax millage rate of all 83 counties.
Republicans work to balance the budget.
Republican legislators vote against raising your taxes.
Republican elected officials believe in transparency.
Republican clerks run elections with integrity.
Republican trustees protect your rights.
Republicans support our veterans.
Who can join?
If you are conservative, we want you in our party.
All conservatives are welcome at our table.
Join our activities.
Join the fun.
Become a member.
Join us now.
Hi, I'm Deb Drick, Chair of Livingston County Republican Party. Our conservative message has been very well received in Livingston County, and I'm so happy to share with you that people are stepping up right and left to help. The only thing's missing is you. Come join our mission. Come join our fun. Go to livingstonrepublicans.com and click join. You'll be glad you did. And we're back, and with us right now is Representative Bryan Posthumus. Welcome, and thank you for coming.
Thanks for having me.
We are real excited to have you here. You have a very, very important ballot proposal that that we all need to know about. You came, and we were so happy that you came and told our party about this. But we want that message. We want that message spread even further, and I think the Right Side video will do that, or the Right Side podcast will do that. So we're happy to have you here, and we're anxious to hear what you have to say. So let's get right in and tell us about that ballot proposal.
Yeah. So first of all, most of your listeners probably know that a foreign national actually voted in our election in 2024, and that ballot counted. Actually, we just found out, I think last week, that individual fled to China.
I heard that.
Yes. It was it happened to be the very last day of Biden's administration. So something tells me that was coordinated, right? But the fact of the matter remains that foreign nationals are voting in our elections. That is fact. It's undisputed. That is happening. Mm-hmm. And my view is that only U.S. citizens should be voting in our elections. And so a couple members of the legislature and I led the effort in sponsoring legislation that would amend the Constitution. Now, we weren't able to get it through the legislative process because it requires 2/3 of the House and 2/3 of the Senate.
Right.
And so we went about it the other way of amending our Constitution, and that's through a petition drive. And so we will be launching petitions here soon, collecting signatures. We need to gather around 650,000 signatures in order to get it on the ballot. And then it'll be on the November 2026 ballot.
You have 180 days to do that? Okay.
Yep, it's 180 days. And again, it requires proof of citizenship when registering to vote and photo ID when casting your ballot.
Awesome. So when you're going to start collecting signatures?
The idea is sometime in the next week, sometime this month, we expect to be collecting signatures. We wanted to make sure that we raised enough money to run the full campaign prior to launching, because you have a 6-month rolling window from the day you launch.
Right.
And the bulk of those signatures are typically collected in the first 2 to 3 months when people are the most excited. And so you don't want to delay and go over that 6 months, because then you lose the majority of the signatures real quick.
Well, and then you got the weather to contend to too.
Right.
You really want to get this done in the 6 month of warm weather as opposed to December.
Yep.
So then what is your I gotta go back to my other page. I gotta go back to my Posthumus page. Here we go. So we understand the proposal. What are the arguments against this? I mean, what are you hearing as far as, the logical or illogical? Yeah. What are the arguments against this?
That's a great question. So the argument that we get the most, right? The number one most frequent argument is that it's so rare that it happens, right? That's the argument that we hear. What's interesting about that is, about a year ago, our Secretary of State was saying that there's no evidence that this ever happens. There's no evidence that foreign nationals actually vote in our elections. It doesn't happen. And then as of October of 2024, she changed her tune and started saying, well, okay, it was one time. There's one time somebody voted in our election as a foreign national. And now recently it's come out that at least 16 times that's happened. But the fact of the matter remains, we have no idea how frequently it happens. There's no mechanism in place for us to be able to confirm with any reasonable security as far as how many times it's happened. But my point is how many times? Where do you draw the line? Right? Is it 10 times? Is it 1,000 times? My second term in the legislature. So last term we had one member that was serving with me. He won by 17 votes.
Right.
17 votes in his entire district, and that made a difference. And so, and another point, the president of the United States in 2000 was won by 537 votes. Wow. Out of whatever it was, 65 million votes cast.
Right.
And so the argument that it doesn't happen often, and so we shouldn't put the guardrails up, is ridiculous. Number one. But the second point that I would contend is, again, I believe that only U.S. citizens should be voting in our elections. I fundamentally believe that.
Agreed.
Well, there's a push from the far left, the progressive left, to legalize non-citizens voting in our state and local elections. This happened in California. It happened in New York. And my view is, I don't think it should ever happen in state and local elections. And so by codifying it in our Constitution, we will ensure that only U.S. citizens vote in our elections.
Okay. In here in Livingston County, we had a representative that went to senator that turned out Joe Yoon.
Yep.
Before you, but
Yep.
probably
I know
no.
Joe.
Joe lost his initial first primary by 2 votes.
Wow.
No, by 1 vote. Recounted it 1 by 2.
Oh my God.
So yes, you're right. Every vote does matter. We in Livingston County understand a close race.
Mm-hmm.
I think Mike Rogers in his first, I don't remember his congressional or state senate, but he ran against Diane Byram and he conceded and then unconceded because it came back, but there wasn't very many votes. So we've had we've had county races by 23. We've had state commissioners by 28. So we understand here in Livingston County what that means. So, so you're thinking it's going to be released here soon?
Yep.
What do you need? Like how many petitions? Give me your like strategic plan here. What is your view?
So there's a couple things. One, anybody that's listening to this should go to proveitmichigan.com. That's Michigan is spelled out, proveitmichigan.com, and sign up to help. Not actually asking for money, although if you want to contribute, you can contribute there. But so I have to raise about $8 million. I have to collect about 650,000 signatures. And so we have to build a huge army of volunteers from every corner of this state. And then we'll be using some of the funds that we raise in order to build out a paid management team from the standpoint of collecting signatures. And then the idea as well is that those signatures will then be verified over time, like as we're going, rather than collecting as many signatures as you can and hoping that they're all valid and verified signatures.
Right.
So that way, when you go to turn it in at the end of the day, at the end of the 6 months, you have a general idea of where you're coming from. There's been a few different times where ballot question committees believe they have enough signatures because the actual number is like closer to 440,000.
Right.
But we overshoot in order to make sure.
You have to. You're right. And
so,
you know darn well it's going to be challenged.
Right. And so what's happened a couple different times is these ballot question committees turn in their signatures thinking that they have enough. They collected maybe 500,000 and it 50,000 or 75,000 get thrown out and they fall short. And so what we're hoping to do is we want to overshoot by 200,000 signatures.
Good.
And we want to finish it early. So that way, if there is an issue, we have time to come back and resubmit. But also we want to be verifying as we're going along, whether that's every week or every other week. We're verifying and validating the signatures that we're collecting. So that way we know, all right, what circulators are actually effective, which circulators know what they're doing, who's just sitting in their truck filling out names, pretending because that legit has happened before. Right. And so if you're verifying and validating as you're going, you're in a much better position.
Sure. Okay, so is that Prove It Michigan? I got it on the screen there. Is that correct? Yep. Okay, so we go there and you can sign up there to be a petition.
Yep, to be a volunteer. Yep.
Okay.
And we will keep you up to date once petitions are ready to go. Everybody will be notified that signed up, and we'll be good to go.
Okay, so what do you need in order to become a petition? I mean, is there I imagine you have to be a registered voter and you have to, so what do you have to put into the system? Do you have to put in your people are going to ask social security number or
right. So at this point,
it's
when at the sign up stage right now at the website, it's literally contact information, just who you are, your contact information. And then as we get the petitions ready to go, we'll be doing trainings and that type of thing to ensure that everybody knows exactly how these are done, because we don't want to invalidate signatures because the petition page was filled out incorrectly.
Okay. So all right. Well, that's good that you're doing trainings, because I think that helps people feel more secure about what they're doing. And so are you going to have like organized? I picture HRCC. Like, do you have organized walk days for this, or is it just going to be random? Go where you can.
So it will be very organized.
Okay.
What I would say is typically one of the biggest challenges ballot question committees face, or these ballot proposals face, is a lack of organization. That's typically why they may fail.
Okay.
And so that's why
it does not seem to be the case in this
right.
situation,
And
right.
that's why we are that's why we need to raise as much money as possible.
Sure.
Our goal, like I said, is $8 million. And that's so we can build out an organization from the standpoint of, all right, what are our organized walk days? Are we going to be doing door to door, which that will be part of it? What is the organized event schedule throughout the entire state of Michigan?
Okay.
Where can we set up booths and when? Who are our regional leads? As far as building out regional leads that the individual circulators then report to and turn in their petitions to. So that's kind of the framework that we'll be looking at.
Okay, and you have like a guess on when those petitions will be ready? I know that we are going to be doing some big events coming up.
Yep.
We've got a whole bunch of community events that we're going to be doing membership things for, and there is absolutely no reason we can't bring one of those petitions
Right.
or several
Yep.
of those petitions and sign people up. And it's anybody in Michigan, correct?
Yep.
So I remember once upon a time, 100 years ago, this is probably before it changed, I was helping get signatures for a prosecutorial run, right?
Mhm.
I had to have a different sheet for every stinking township,
Right.
city, county. And there's a whole bunch of those, so I'm carrying this thing around and I'm trying to figure out, okay, you were here, you signed this one, you signed this one. This is no longer the case on that kind of situation.
No, and like I
Okay.
said, we'll be going through training, so
Okay.
we'll know exactly how to do it. But for this, it's broken down by county. And so like Livingston County would have a specific sheet. Kent County would have a
okay.
specific sheet.
Okay.
And I believe that's as detailed as it has to get, but then you have to
Okay.
put down your municipality
Sure,
within
sure,
that,
sure.
on the
So
page.
you can't have Kent County and Livingston County on the same sheet
Right,
then? Okay.
right.
Okay. So if we were going to do this at we have huge events here. We
Mhm.
have our Balloon Fest coming up in usually third week of June,
Mm.
and that gets people from all over
Yeah.
the state. It's thousands of people. In August, we have our Melon Fest, same thing, from all over the state. So we get a bunch of this stuff. I would imagine the smart thing to do would be to have somebody from the inside the camp come
Yep.
and work at one of our booths or
Yeah,
something.
and that's-
maybe that would be the better thing.
That's kind of the idea. Of, like,
Okay.
it's going to be a combination of paid circulate, like a professional organization that does this for a
Okay.
living, along with the volunteer army that
Okay.
we're building throughout the
Okay.
entire state.
Okay. And so any donations can also be done at Prove It Michigan?
Yep.
Okay. All right. Well, good. So, what can you tell me, like, what's the messaging behind this? What's your the package? For me, it's all about we have the best product in the world. I sell the best air cleaner on the planet, but I first must convince you that you have dirty air before my air cleaner goes anywhere.
Yeah.
So what's that messaging?
So this is what I would say. So first of all, number one, look, nearly 85% of the population agrees that only U.S. citizens should be voting in our elections, and nearly
Okay.
85% of the population agree that photo ID should be required when casting your ballot.
Okay.
Those are two universal things that work in red states, blue states, purple states across the board, and so the arguments that the far left progressives are pushing against this, they're really running up against a brick wall, because literally every single demographic, a majority of that demographic supports both of these aspects. A majority of Republicans support it, independents, a majority of the Democrats, majority of white people, Black people, Latinos, a majority of every single demographic supports only citizens voting in our elections and photo ID when casting your ballot.
And Dems are supporting this?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
A majority
good.
of Democrats support this as well. Now, the elected Democrats don't, because they've like pigeonholed themselves for 20 years on opposing photo ID and any of this. And so it's really come to the point where we have a firm standing of Secretary of State Benson, who is likely to be the Democrat nominee for governor, standing in opposition to this against the majority of her party, of the actual rank and file, like the people voting Democrat. And so my guess is that she'll have a little bit of sway over some of the typical traditional Democrat voters, but still, when polled, a majority of Democrats agree with only citizens voting.
Wow. That surprises me.
Mhm.
I guess I would have thought they were in lockstep with her, and because illegals can vote Democrat, so that
Right.
I know the M's and justifies the means. So where is, if you're getting pushback from Benson at all on this?
Yeah. Yep. Now, not as much anymore. She's trying to avoid it because she knows she's on the wrong side of it. But there's been a little bit of pushback. Like I said, the main argument that they're using is that it's infrequent. Well,
Okay.
I still think that's a weak argument.
Well, how do you prove a negative?
Right.
You know,
right.
you can't, if they have, you know, there weren't any until we caught one. Now
Right.
there was one.
Now-
You catch 10 more, then there'll be 11. You know?
The other argument that they're using quite a bit, and I find this hilarious, is that I'm trying to disenfranchise women, which is just a joke. I mean, if you're trying to come up with a logical argument, that is not the one to go to because it's so easy to disprove. But the fact is, like, she wants to go that route because that's half of the population, right?
Yeah, somehow abortion will get thrown in there too.
But the fact of the matter is, this issue has been led from a constitutional amendment standpoint by myself, Representative Chair Bolin,
Okay.
Speaker Pro Tem Rochelle Smith, and Representative Jade DeBoyer. Now, all three of those people outside of me are former elections officials or former clerks, local or county clerks, and two of them just happen to be married women. And so the argument that they are trying to disenfranchise themselves is a bit of a joke. And, and plus my sister, who's a married woman and also elections official, helped draft the language with me.
Yes.
And so like this argument's just weak and it's hilarious.
Speaking of your sister, when you go back, you tell her Deb Drick from Senator Jansen's office said hello.
I will let her know.
I liked her a lot.
I'm a big fan.
I'm sorry.
I'm a big fan.
Oh, I really liked her. She was wonderful to work with. So, all right. Well, this is so is Benson your biggest pushback, or who's like your biggest wall, I guess, brick wall?
Benson is the biggest mouthpiece in opposition.
Okay.
Now, I will say there are a couple members in the House of Representatives that sit on the Elections Committee that have voiced their opposition. But I mean, Benson's the only one with a relatively large, bully pulpit that she can use in opposition. So
I'm curious as to the position or non-position that Mr. Duggan might take.
It's interesting that you bring that up. My suspicion, and I don't know this for sure, but in conversations that I've had with people that are close to him, is that he is supportive of it and he plans to make it an issue in the election. Because look, I mean, if I'm Mike Duggan, I'm a Democrat.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, he's a Democrat running as an independent.
Right.
Let's call a spade a spade. But he does support it, and this is an issue where he can make a very clear wedge between himself and the Democrat nominee to try to bring Democrats over. And so what we as Republicans have to be careful. We need to be a lot more cognizant of Duggan running as an independent than I think people are. I think we should be a little bit nervous and take it very seriously.
Over in our neck of the woods, we talk about it quite a bit.
Good.
He is nobody to take for granted. There is absolutely no way. It's just a fool takes him for granted. Right. And he's skating all the way to the November ballot, and the only way that could, in my opinion, I've done some brainstorming, and let's what monkey wrenches could we throw into that thing? And in my opinion, the only way to do it is another well-known Wayne County independent that could split up some of that stuff. And I think that boils down to M&M. So I don't know how else. I mean, I don't know who else could do that. I was kind of hoping, Chief Craig would jump in there. That might be a nice split, but then rats.
I mean, again, I still think we're okay as long as we don't nominate somebody crazy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, and I'm saying crazy from a rhetoric standpoint.
Right.
If we nominate somebody crazy that the rank and file Republican voter can't get behind, then they're going to go to Duggan.
Yep.
As long as we don't do that, I think we'll be fine. Pretty much any of the candidates that have announced, I think we'll be fine.
Mm-hmm.
And
they all have their strengths. That's for sure.
Right. Yep. They all have their strengths. They all have their weaknesses, but they're not going to lose a lot of people to Mayor Duggan, and some other candidates could.
Well, I'm hoping. I mean, my view is, or my hope, I guess, and it may not be a realistic hope, but I'm hoping that he splits the Democrats with whoever the Democrat. You remember? I don't know. You're like a lot younger than I am, but do you remember? I mean, we got Bill Clinton because Ross Perot ran, yes. And then we ended up with George W. because Ralph Nader ran and split it up. So I'm really hoping that Duggan is the Ralph Nader of the group that splits up the Democrats. But the problem is, I'm talking to a lot of Republicans who are just fine with supporting him or just fine if he wins. And I mean, would he be better than Benson? Yes. But that's like saying armed robbery is better than murder. It's not good.
My expectation is that it'll be more like a Ralph Nader situation.
Yeah,
right?
I'm hoping.
And Republicans will be on the right side of that coin. I think that's almost certainly going to be the case. But again, there is a chance that if we nominate the wrong person that can't consolidate the Republican vote, then we could be in trouble.
Any thoughts on the and I'm not going to ask you to take your thoughts on the three front runners, I guess I'd say, but any thoughts on any other big names coming in? Are you hearing anything?
So I mean, Kevin Ranke's out there, right? I don't know if he's going to get in or not. He may end up running for John James' seat. My understanding, I've heard a lot.
Boy, that would be a good plan. We need somebody there.
Yep. I've heard that that former Speaker Tom Leonard is looking at getting into the gubernatorial race. I know Tom. I like Tom a lot. Yep. He's a good guy. So that would be interesting from a political standpoint, because Nesbitt and Tom Leonard would be probably looking at similar lanes to go through.
Yep.
So that'd be interesting to see how that'll work out. I don't know. And then there's Dixon, who we have no idea. Is she going to run for the Senate? Is she going to run for governor? Is she not going to run at all? I don't know.
People have tried to push her into people are trying to push her into the Secretary of State.
Oh, Secretary of State.
Yeah. Which, I mean, somebody said that's kind of, she thought it was a little beneath where she wanted to be, but I mean, to come out of nowhere and right into the governor race, I don't necessarily think that's I mean, could it happen? Sure, it's America, but it's probably not realistic. And it seems like if she did want to run for governor at some point, starting at the Secretary of State's not a bad place,
right?
Because who else is there? That is the big question. So as long as I got you here, let's chat. Who do you know out there that's you're hearing anything about potentials for Secretary of State?
There's some county clerks that I think would be good. Whether or not they'll actually run, I don't know. I really haven't heard anybody saying I'm seriously considering it. I think there's a lot of local and county clerks that would be really good. Frankly, I think Jada Boyer, who's the oversight chair in the House, would be phenomenal.
Oh, I've been after Ann Boland for 8 years.
I think Ann would be phenomenal.
To move. Yeah. Now she's chair of appropriations. So okay, well, I'm probably not going to.
Yeah, that's a tough move, going from chair of appropriations to running for Secretary of State.
Right.
So I don't know that, but what I will say is, especially this round, I think Secretary of State is one of the most critical positions for a Republican to hold, because the Secretary of State is going to be in charge. This next Secretary of State is almost certainly going to be in charge of the next redistricting commission, and so we know how that went under Benson when we got the most heavily gerrymandered district I have ever seen in the state of Michigan. Even
Livingston County ended up with a Democrat rep. If that doesn't tell you something is a mess, that I don't know how else to say it, but yes, that's nuts. That was the nuts.
And I'm the only Republican solely based in Kent County. Out of I think there's 7 Kent County reps. I'm the only Republican that's district is solely held within Kent County in the House of Representatives. Historically, we have 5.
Yeah.
And so it's very clear that there was some shenanigans that happened this last round. And my view is the map drawing process is not the time to be playing political games. That's the time where we should be drawing without partisan lines. We shouldn't be looking at partisan overlays to see what the makeup is going to be. Because as soon as you put the partisan overlay on it, now you are drawing based on party politics, and that's not the way it's supposed to be done.
No. So what about Attorney General? Anybody This is horrible. This is absolutely horrible. A huge, huge Michigan year, and we're sitting here wondering who is going to step up.
Yeah, we're still early for like, especially for Attorney General and Secretary of State. So I'm not terribly concerned yet. And frankly, I'm not sure about Attorney General. That's a really good question.
See, if I were planning the run for either Secretary of State or Attorney General, let's just say Secretary of State to make it simple, I would be saying, let's do this. Let's send a email every single week to every delegate in the state, and the subject will be election integrity by Representative Bryan Posthumus, we'll say. And every single,
I'm not running for Secretary of State,
but just to make it simple. So, or by Ann Boland or whatever, Representative Ann Boland. So we put that in the subject line, and every single week, every single delegate gets something, and it's a little blurb.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
3 little blurbs about, but what they're going to do eventually is in the back of their head is going to associate election integrity with Ann Boland or with
Right.
Bryan Posthumus or whoever it is. And after about 5 months of that, every single week, you start showing up at delegate
Right.
meetings, at
Mhm.
county chair meetings, at delegate meetings, and you introduce yourself. And the first thing somebody says is, "Oh, wow, I know you. You're the election integrity person." That is such a huge jump. The same thing with the Attorney General. The name needs to get out there. And I'm a big messaging person. So I can't sell that air cleaner
Yeah.
until I first convince you have dirty air. So, I don't think it's too early. I don't think it's early at all. I think
Yeah.
that, to get that kind of traction, I got into, the last one, I was actually hired by Bo LaFave at the 11th hour
Bo.
of that.
I love Bo.
I know. I worked for Bo. I never had so much fun. Hi, Bo. He watches these sometimes. I never had so much fun working for a representative in my whole life. But at the 11th hour, and it was way too quick for me to be any effective. But this is what I would have told him. The best effective I had on him, I yelled at him to go get rid of his 12-year-old haircut and go get a
Yeah.
real haircut. So, but that was it. But we don't have, it had to be, had Bo now, that's what I would have had him do,
Yeah.
just like I would have anybody else
Yeah.
do. And
I would actually say, I don't know if many of your viewers know who Andrew Fink is. I think he would be a really good Attorney General.
Oh God, yes.
He's one of my favorite legislators of all time, although he's no longer
He's
a
so
legislator.
smart.
Oh, he's brilliant. He's one of
Gosh.
he's by far the smartest person I served with in the legislature, hands down.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Except for me, of course.
Of course, yes. And that goes what I'm saying, yes. So yes, I was always impressed with his work and his statements and his, reasoning and everything else, his logic. And we in Livingston County really hoped for his judicial position. But yes, that would be great. Is he showing any interest? And see, he's already got the name.
So
he's already got that name.
yeah, and he was already on a statewide ballot, so that's
Yep,
helpful.
yep.
Now I know he is. I think he's under consideration
Okay.
for district attorney, like U.S. district attorney,
Oh,
right now for the. I think he is anyway. I should say.
okay.
And so if that doesn't pan out, then like for the Trump appointment for that, then I guess maybe you'd look at it. I haven't had the conversation with him. I guess I should
Okay.
probably have a conversation with him before I say
Would you
maybe I'll look
mind?
at it.
Please let us know. Yeah, no, and whatever we can do to help. But I like I said, for anybody watching or anybody, like I said, this is we get a couple hundred viewers by the end of the night. We have a couple hundred views of this, and then tomorrow, within 24 hours, the numbers fly because people watch this or listen to this on the way to work
Mhm.
or on the way home for work. And then after that, it just kind of snowballs until, like over here. And it's really nice too, because here we got, Highland Park, Wayne County people, and we've got the hi to Russ out there in Jackson. The chair of Jackson County called and said, "Hey, can we put your podcast link on our page?"
great.
Oh, all right, yeah. So so this is what happens. So as this snowballs, if it gets back to these candidates, which I think it is, please, please, please start your engines, because this is not something you want to delay. This is not something you want to put off. You really have to there's nobody out there right now. So whoever steps up and starts that messaging and starts that marketing, you're going to have a huge edge. So, you've got access to all these people. I don't know why doesn't your sister run for Secretary of State?
That's a good question.
That's a really good question. I just found my candidate.
There you go. You'll have to give her a call. I tried, and she said no to me. So.
Oh, well, she's a Kent County clerk, correct?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
And it is Kent County also where Pete is the treasurer?
Yep.
Okay, so. Yeah, I had fun working with all the Kent County people.
I
liked them a lot.
Yeah.
They were great. So, all right. Well, that's unfortunate. That it's unfortunate. It stinks that she's so happy.
Right.
Yeah. But no, she would make a great Secretary of State, and boy, would she'd come out of nowhere with all kinds of support. So that would be great. Why is all the people that would win? Why are they
happy?
Yeah.
Why are they happy doing what they're doing?
I know. Darn you. Okay, well, this is just what we've got to do. So, all right, back to the ballot proposal. Is there anything else we need to know about this ballot proposal, or we should know, or the question? What I don't know what I don't know. What might that be?
So again, the primary focus of the ballot question is to ensure that only U.S. citizens vote in our elections, and ID is required when you cast your ballot, and that actually includes absentee ballots, right? Mail-in absentee ballots. And so there's a provision in there that says, okay, you can provide either the last four of your social security number, the last four of your driver's license number, or your voter ID number, or you can scan and copy your driver's license, put that in there as well. So that's how you do the ID for casting your ballot absentee. And I think that's critically important, because that's where one of the areas where we have a vulnerability is the identification of absentee voters.
Okay. All right. Well, I think that unless there's anything else, I think that's pretty much covers what we need to do. Thank you so much for making the trip to beautiful Livingston County. And we appreciate you coming here again. Prove It Michigan is where you go to sign up, to ask questions and donate. They need to raise $8 million. That's not an easy feat, but we can do this. So thanks again for coming.
Thank you for having me on.
We'll be right back with Bill Reiber.
Ready to make your real estate dreams a reality? Meet Lisa R., your trusted expert in Livingston County. With 25 years in the real estate marketplace, she offers a seamless, stress-free experience. As a Real Estate One agent, Lisa has access to a network of over 2,000 agents and a one-stop shop for mortgage, title, and insurance services. Call Lisa R. at 734-260-7277 or visit her at Real Estate One in Brighton. Let her help you find your dream home or sell your property with confidence.
John Adams warned that the Constitution is wholly inadequate without a moral and religious people. As conservatives, we must reclaim the faith that shaped it, rooted in Jesus Christ and the Bible. To help you understand the historic Christianity that our country was founded on, check out theexaltedchrist.com, a resource website proclaiming Christ as King.
Hello, I'm Mary Beth Patrikis, Mama Bear Productions, and I work with people who are motivated yet frustrated with their health and are looking for simple ways to look and feel their best. You may contact me at my email address, which is marybeth@mamabearproductions.net. That's marybeth@MAMA, bear like the animal, productions.net, and we can set up a time to talk to see how working together you can thrive in life.
Welcome to the right side.
And with me now is the brand new 7th District Chair, District 3, Livingston County Commissioner, Frank Sample. So welcome, Frank.
You're very active in the American Legion.
Correct.
You're very active in the VFW.
This ideology is very damaging to the students who are told if you get this surgery and make do the social transition, the medical transition, then you'll be happy and all your problems will be
Yes,
solved. Learned so much.
I'll bet. That's some institutional knowledge right there.
And we have, as a special guest, as I said earlier, we have Kevin Rankin with us. Welcome, Kevin. Thanks for joining us tonight.
Thank you for having me.
Go Bows. Thanks, Kelly. There are those everywhere. We have, but we love meeting new people.
Right, yes.
It's in good shape, so that's good news.
That safeness is not afforded to every citizen. They are special.
There's a difference between men and women. There's a biological difference, and it's time for us to stand for our girls.
He went through, and he came back with a report said there's no way Detroit can meet its obligations on the tax base.
Yes.
So is this DEI focused just on the high school, or are they talking about all
district, the entire district?
Maybe that's kind of normal. It's really not. There tends to be little fiefdoms with different police agencies and police versus fire and fire versus EMS and blah blah blah. That's not the case here. So Livingston County is very fortunate.
Hey, not too long ago, in many of our lifetimes, Detroit was the 3rd largest city in America.
Oh yeah,
3.2 million citizens.
It's been a great experience. I mean, I have no regrets about moving here.
There's an old saying that the road will get you elected, the jail will get you unelected. So, to give you an idea.
You have to have a reason to change for change to be enacted.
Why should you join the Livingston County Republican Party?
Why, you ask?
Yeah, why?
Why join?
The Republican Party is the party of common sense.
Common sense.
Republicans support the Constitution.
Republicans protect your rights.
We fight to keep your children safe.
We fight to keep boys and men out of girls and women's sports.
We fight to keep boys out of girls' restrooms.
We fight for you.
What does the Republican Party do?
We help Republican candidates get elected.
Why is it important to elect Republicans?
Why is that important?
Why? Tell me, why is that important?
Livingston County is one of the safest counties in Michigan.
Livingston County has one of the lowest crime rates in the state of Michigan.
Livingston County has the lowest tax millage rate of all 83 counties.
Republicans work to balance the budget.
Republican legislators vote against raising your taxes.
Republican elected officials believe in transparency.
Republican clerks run elections with integrity.
Republican trustees protect your rights. Republicans support our veterans.
Who can join?
If you are conservative, we want you in our party.
All conservatives are welcome at our table.
Join our activities.
Join the fun.
Become a member.
Join us now.
Hi, I'm Deb Drick, Chair of Livingston County Republican Party. Our conservative message has been very well received in Livingston County, and I'm so happy to share with you that people are stepping up right and left to help. The only thing's missing is you. Come join our mission. Come join our fun. Go to livingstonrepublicans.com and click join. You'll be glad you did.
Okay, and we're back. Hi, we got Bill Reiber with us, the Genoa Township Trustee, and that was a great meeting with Representative Posthumus. He's very charismatic, and he's very dedicated, and he's a good representative. I did a little work with him, and when I was at the House, and I have a lot of respect for him. Worked with his father as the lieutenant governor, and I worked with his sister, who was a state rep too. We were talking about her earlier. She's the county clerk for Kent County, and I really liked her, and I'm really mad that she won't run for Secretary of State. She would be great. So Lisa, if you hear this, please consider. All right, so we did not bring this up. Mark, are you still here? Or did you run away? You're not allowed to run away on podcast days. Tell those people, I'm sorry, I got a podcast. Sorry, you can't do that. So, all right, we're here to talk about, Bill and I have, we've talked about HAPRA before, and that's the Howell Area Parks and Recreation Authority. And they came off of a millage in which they presented pictures. Let me see if I have it. I thought I put them in here. Hold on. Let's see. Nope, I guess I did not. I have the pictures of the newspaper clippings, or I'm sorry, the newspaper headlines and their attitude, saying they were going to go under if this did not click. On their website, they have a millage. They still have millage information, and if you look at it, if the millage doesn't fail, one of the tracks is we close. So imagine our surprise when Candy Hovarder,
yep.
I never say that right, Hovarder, who I really like, told me that they were putting out all kinds of crazy benefits and benefit packages and spending taxpayer money. And she stood up as a brand new elected official and said, this is not how you spend taxpayer money. So we were very proud of her for doing that. Not enough Republicans do that. So I'm really glad to see that some of our I know you've done that, Bill, and I just, I know Jay does that, Nick does that, Wes does that. So there are Republicans out there that will say, stop it. We're not spending taxpayer dollars this way. We're not being foolish with our money. So she did that, and it triggered a series of, well, we're going to bump it down. We're going to kick the can down the road. We'll vote next month. We'll table it. We'll table it. We'll table it. Well, in the maternity leave situation, which is the first sign, they wanted to give this, and this is, the director himself stated, this is a top of the line. He nobody's doing this kind of thing. He wants to be the first in the state. He wants a primo maternity leave for his employees, which just made me scratch my head. This is taxpayer dollars. This is not your private company. So, and to the point where the business director put out an email saying, guys, this might be too ambitious. I think you ought to relook at this. And Candy, again, stood up and said, this is it. But they were talking 6 to 8 weeks of paid, and then some kind of, remember the graduated, you work this many hours, but you get paid for 40, and then you work some more hours. And next week you get paid for 40, you get weeks to do that. So the law says 12 weeks unpaid. Some places give, some weeks paid, which is just fine and dandy. But to do this kind of, extension on a taxpayer dollar. Now, I will report that since she came forward and spoke, since she came on the podcast, they brought that back to 4 weeks paid. Perfectly okay. Right.
Yep.
Reasonable.
And the gradual return to work. You're right, Deb. They had this formula over the course of 4 weeks. Week number 1, you would come in and work 20 weeks and get paid for the 40 weeks. 20 hours,
mm-hmm.
and then get paid the other 20 hours just on the tab of the taxpayer. And then the second and third and fourth week.
That was after 6 weeks, by the way, not after 4 weeks.
So
yes.
So yeah, Candy was looking at things like this, what she was seeing in the packet, and this started back in the December-January timeframe, fresh off the renewed millage, where we're right. If this happens, we're going to dissolve potentially. And it just was a bad look. And Candy, to her credit, stood her ground. She vocalized concern over it, and they were able to table it and table it and table it and table it. But over the next 4 or 5 months, some of that fluff, those pork projects, I'll call it, starting coming down a little bit. They got rid of it. It's not in the May packet, at least for the graduated return to work. You're right. The number of weeks for paid, additional paid time off had come down. So, hats off to Candy, and it just goes, to show you, if you see something, say something.
Right. I'm just looking to see here if we have any of those headlines. What is that right there? What is that? There it is right there. That's a headline from the Livingston Daily Press and Argus. So I know I was told I was told, or I was taken to task saying that they never said that. This is incorrect. There's the headline right there. They did say that. I wouldn't have said that otherwise.
Yep.
There's a couple of those out there, and when you go on to their, let's see if I have it up here. I thought I did. What is this one here? Oh, is that the same thing? What's that? No. So it is if you go onto their website, and I thought I took a snip of it. That's what that is. Okay.
Yeah, they still had up on their website information about the millage.
Yes.
You know,
and on the website it specifically said, one of the paths were dissolved.
Yep.
So I mean, to say that they never said that is absolutely incorrect. They've got it out there. It's been in the media. It's on their own website that they could dissolve. And so that is they backed it down from 6 weeks of paid plus this gradual. They backed it down to 4 weeks of paid and then the rest unpaid or personal time off. Perfect. That, I mean, like I said, the law says 12 weeks unpaid. If you want to give 4 weeks paid, that's just, that's reasonable, right?
FMLA,
That is absolutely
right.
Reasonable.
Right.
So it is not, there's nobody that's complaining about that. But then when you start extending it, so the next thing that we were concerned of was this 10% unmatched. They have a 10% unmatched
like a 401k.
401k, and then they have a 457 that they can contribute to.
Right.
So that is a little that I have never even known a company that goes that high. In the state, we were given like 3% or 6% or something, but it was a match, right? So it was to have 10% automatically 10% of your income go into a 401k every single year. That seemed extravagant to me until I looked around. What does Genoa Township do for your retirement?
They do also a 10%.
10%.
Yep.
Howell Township, I was told. Now, I did not verify this with paper, but I was told by a trustee last night that they do 15% of, again, unmatched. So, wow, that is super high. But I just want to clarify, it isn't my position to tell a township what they should do or what they shouldn't do as far as that kind of thing. If that's what the trustees and that's what this, everybody voted in, okay. I'm that's up to them. If the constituents don't like that, it's up to them to deal with it. But it's not my position. Our position is HAPRA, who is supported by it's a combination, or it's an authority of 5 different townships. Are they way above that, or are they in line? And if they're in line with the rest of the townships, then I have no complaint about it. That is exactly where they should be. They should not be elevated to better than. Right. I'm concerned about their personal time off policy. This is what we have here. I did copy that. Yeah. Let's put that on the stage here. Okay, you can see that they have the current policy is, they give 6 weeks after 11 years of time off. That's a lot of time off. 6 weeks. I thought I had a lot of time off at the house. No, nothing like this. Yeah. So they're changing it. Now, the reason they're changing it is because the new sick leave. Okay. The new sick leave mandates 72 hours of sick time every single year. So what they're doing is they're taking a week off. You can look at that, a week off, except for the first year is what's really different. If you look at what their current policy is, it's 1 to 3 years, they get 3 weeks.
Nice.
Wow.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very
wow.
Nice.
Very nice. That's a little crazy. But then you've got over here, the new one is going to be 0. You get 40 hours your first year. You're not earning it by the weeks or whatever, just right away, 40 hours. But again, you're getting that, after 11 years, you're getting, 5 weeks of paid personal time off, which again is really, I mean, if you look at your constituents, I can't say many constituents are this extravagant. Yeah. Now, are other townships like that? Some of them are. Okay, again, I'm not in the business of telling townships how they should be voting, but this is what I have a problem with, and that is they are now proposing emergency time off that is different than personal time off.
Right.
So they're looking at giving everybody 40 hours of emergency time off. They say they can't take it for vacation. Well, who needs to take it for vacation if you have 5 weeks or 5 or 4 weeks or 3 weeks or whatever you have of that? So, and from what I understand, the example was if your dog gets lost or your cabin up north, the pipe breaks, you don't have to use personal time off to go fix it. You can use this emergency stuff. Personal time off, define. It doesn't say vacation time. It says personal time off. You're already giving a huge amount. Like I said, I worked at the state of Michigan at the house. We never got that much, ever. So that's crazy. Plus now they're going to give another 40 to 80. And when I think about these changes, also was there made mention, did you hear anything mentioned about, as far as the maternity leave, the director saying that the maternity leave was for women and for men like him that would never use a maternity leave of 6 weeks? Wasn't there some sort of something he's entitled to, or he wants to do something for those who can't?
The intent was, and I think it's right in the heart, right, is try to make everybody put on equal footing, all the employees put on equal footing. And the example for him was, I don't plan on having any more children. I will never use paternity leave. I don't plan on using paternity leave, but so that I feel equal or another employee isn't slighted, we're going to kind of level the playing field and make it so we're going to dole out, a parachute. For
something else nobody else does.
Right.
So, and I guess this is what's starting to kind of come to me. All these benefits that the director keeps bringing, these, the big 401k and the big PTO and the emergency leave and everything else, it benefits him. I'm wondering how much of this is really for the employees and not for his retirement or his personal time off, because he's been there quite some time. I believe he's been there beyond the 11 years. So if that's the case, then he's going to get up to 2 weeks sick time, 5 weeks of personal time off, and now another up to 2 weeks emergency. Wow. On taxpayer money. Do you happen to know what his salary is?
In the 80s, I think.
Okay. All right.
In the 80s.
So, on top of that, we've now hired a deputy director, which, if they need a deputy director, that's okay. But why is there a management consultant coming in, after being there over 11 years? Don't you think you should be able to manage or, teach your deputy how to manage, or hire a deputy that already knows? From what I understand, she's probably a good, I hear good things about her. Her husband is well liked. So, I don't see any reason she would be a bad choice, but I question why you need a consultant on top of, this. It just seems like the money, I looked at the millage. Did you read those millage papers? The promise was we're going to use this millage exclusively to maintain and improve programs, right? It wasn't to increase staff, to increase consultants, to increase maternity leave, to increase personal time off.
Yep. It
was none of that. So it just doesn't pass the smell test here. Yeah. I will say that I understand public came to the last meeting. I know from what I'm hearing, more public's coming to the next meeting. So they once again have kicked that can down the road for the maternity leave. It has gone down, like I said, to a reasonable amount. If they vote that in, I doubt anybody's going to complain. But the fact that it keeps getting postponed because Candy wanted it voted on. It came down to a reasonable level, 4 weeks of paid, the rest unpaid or using personal time off. That is reasonable. I mean, it's still higher than a lot of places. It's certainly higher than the minimum required, but it's reasonable. 4 weeks is reasonable. So I guess the optics of
that's what it is.
Yes, it's bad optics.
As soon as you turned your pockets inside out,
that's right,
and said we're going to potentially dissolve if the path goes over here, And I mean, within the first 1 or 2 meetings after
I think it was the first
village-
meeting in January. Yep.
I mean, after it was approved, it was boom. These things were these Cadillacs
Yep.
were upgraded to Lamborghinis, you know,
Yep.
and put on the table right there. And I made the point. I was one of those public speakers, and I said, look, some of it is about the optics. It's not a good look when you plead that you're a pauper and you're out there, you know, throwing money around. You know,
Well, it's like I said, and it's not throwing money into new fields,
right,
or new
capital
programs,
equipment,
or you know, I understand someone told me that now they're finally talking about outdoor pickleball courts, and that's just fine and dandy. But those kind of things should have been on the agenda before the you know, any maternity leave got extended. So yeah, and there it is, Jay. Perfect. Bait and switch is reprehensible, and that's exactly what I feel like it happened.
Yeah.
It was, we said we were going to close the doors. It's right on there, right? For anybody that wants to argue with that, go to their website. It's on there. Yeah. You know, that they're going to close their doors, or they could close their doors. And so, you know, to be able to do this, but you know, the other thing is too, you've got, as far as I know now, the House City Council is, you know, the city councilman, Nick Hartridge, I think is his last name. And he is now going to be mayor, unopposed mayor. You know, I don't know what his politics are. They're nonpartisan. I don't know. I'm sorry, hold on. So we have Michael Sims here that, yeah, Mike, I think you're correct that they're not. I think it's safe to say I don't think they're spending their windfall, you know, on programs like they promised. But you know, I don't know Nick Hartridge's politics. You know, he could be Republican, he could be Democrat, he could be independent, he could be a lot of things. I don't know. He could be Whig. I don't know. But the point is, he's voting for this stuff, and I know that the other 4 candidates, or the other 4, from Osceola, from Howell Township, from Marion, and from Genoa, with the you know, exception of Candy, no, I'm not hearing anybody else speak up about this and saying. Now, you know, unless you heard it at a meeting, did you hear anybody speak up or say, you know, I kind of think they're right, this might not be a good idea?
You mean as far as the board members
Yep,
there?
Yep.
No, not really. I mean, the meeting that I attended in person, you know, to deliver the public comments, the members of the board or the staff there that were there up at the front, they made some clarification statements. They made some, well, this and that, but there was
Were they more justifications?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, they were. You know, and you know, another thing, you know, about this extra 1 week or 2 weeks emergency paid leave. There's really 2, a part A and a part B, and one of the conditions is there's no documentation required. If you say, look, you know, I've you know, got to fix a hole in the roof of my cabin up north, it's just taken for word. It's really up to the yes or no, you know, of the director to say, well, that sounds legitimate to me. So, okay, there's no hard and fast rule. There's nothing in writing. I think that the only the other part B of it is they had a blurb about maternity leave. And I think you had to provide some type of documentation that you had, C-section.
Right.
That's what it was.
Right,
It was
because you get an
C-section.
extra 2 weeks or whatever.
Right,
so, yeah.
right. But the rest of it was kind of a free for all, and it's up to the discretion of the director.
Yes.
Yeah.
And who's also benefiting from this. So that's where I start to feel a little bit hinky that, come on, guys, you know, rather than improve, you know, use this money to improve the, you know, the situation for the programs and for the residents and for the people that's paying in, you know, you're improving things for yourself. And that's just, like you said, the optics just aren't there. It's just not a good look. So I'm not one that begrudges 401k, or,
Right.
I mean, like I said, if everybody else is doing 10% or 15%, by all means, take it. That's standard for your area, but you should not be above. I guess if it were me, I feel it should be standard for your area, not for your supporting governments. In other words, it should be what your neighbors, what your constituents, what the people living in the subdivisions, what they get. And that it should be even with that. But at the same time, I understand an authority is also, supported by your township. So if your townships are getting about that, then that's fine. That, I'm not going to complain or say that that's too high. It is what it is, and it's exactly what it in line with your supporting townships. But the personal time off and the original maternity leave, that the adjusted amount is fine. It's now in line with everybody else's. So okay, that's not a bad deal. But personal time off, that's just crazy.
It begs to ask the question, and I'm going to sing, Candy's praises once again. She ran along with myself and other trustees for Genoa Township as a fiscally conservative candidate, and she stuck to her guns. And had she not been the lone voice crying out in the wilderness,
that's right,
we don't know where this would have ended up.
Well, and it just goes to tell you that, I mean, authorities, when I worked in the legislature, I think I mentioned before, my first bill that I ever worked on was a Lulu. It wasn't a little license plate bill. It was a major reform, and it was PA 152 of 2012. You want to curl up a glass of wine and a fire and get you some of that legislation. You want to get some good reading. It is basically, it forced one of two types of public health plans. Either the public health plan could opt for an 80-20, 80-20, where the 20%, was distributed amongst employees, and they could do it according to, where the $30,000 employee paid less than the, 120, but, it could be distributed as long as they paid 20%, or there was a hard cap where they set an amount for a family plan, a couple, and then a single. And then if you wanted a bigger plan than that, if you bargained for it, you had to pay the extra. But if you did underneath, then okay, fine. You didn't pay anything, so you got free, it was free to you. And it was a great reform for public facilities, but it was fought. But and the other thing is, schools could not opt out. They could not opt out. It was only townships, counties, other governmental entities could opt out. So you could pick 80-20, you could pick the hard cap, or you could opt out, right? Opt out had to be by 2/3 vote. We specifically never, ever allowed a authority to give the right to opt out, because they were not elected to the authority, and they're often not challenged and not overseen, and they just didn't answer to the voters. They answered to the voters through their townships, but they did not answer to the voters for what they did, because that's the way authorities are. So, I don't have any complaints with the fire authority. I don't have any complaints with the, whatever else we have out there. They do their job, but the rec authority, I don't like the optics. I just don't like it.
The optics, and when I was there making public comments, they're throwing out some statistics like, for example, this particular benefit, there may only be a small handful of employees that would ever be eligible or be able to take advantage of this benefit. And you look at that and say, well, is that going to cost the taxpayer $1 million? No, it's not going to cost them $1 million, but it is the optics of that. I don't care if it's 1, 2, 3 people. It's the optics.
And that's today. You can't also say that people won't leave and new come in, and now all of them are taking it. So, you can't, you don't make a plan. You don't make and here's the other thing: never legislate for the minority. If there's only a few, then there it is. It seems like they get enough personal time off as it is. So if they're there 10 years and they're getting 5 weeks or 4 weeks or whatever, yeah. So you get your 4 weeks plus you want to use a couple of weeks of your paid time off. Good. Like I said, that's what the rest of the world does. Why is there an elite plan over here? I don't get it. So yeah, we have some comments here. They use the money in part to reduce costs for people who take classes there. Better policy would have to have people taking yoga pay for it, not making my family pay for it, so they can take reduced cost yoga. New park facilities, just not that. Well, as far as I know, Michael, I don't know. I don't know. As far as I know, though, they took they reduced across the board. I think they reduced anything that you do there. You take, it got dropped. But that was because of a millage that was voted in. So you want to go yell at somebody, go yell at Marion Township. Marion Township could have killed this, and they allowed it to go on the ballot because it failed in the primary. They allowed it to go on the ballot. So they didn't have to do that. If they would have said no, then I bet you they wouldn't have closed. But they also wouldn't be having all this money to dish out. But, like I said, if they promised on their website, there was a statement on there that said they were going to use it for exclusively, they use the word exclusively, for program improvements and maintenance of programs. So the fact that, all this other stuff, I mean, and you could say, well, we're not using that money, we're using this money over here. Well, how was it you were going to go poor before? How are you going to close unless you got this millage? And suddenly, or did you overshoot? And, Commissioner Fiani was on here. The Commissioner Fiani was on here a couple of weeks ago, and he made an interesting point. And he said, here's the thing about a millage. You don't have to use it. You can give it back. You can say, no, we don't need all that much. We're just not going to use it. So, and in a Republican county, that's what Republicans, do. So if you need that money for your fields, if you need that money to, put volleyball outside or pickleball outside or tennis outside or whatever, then use it. If you got it, use it. But, you're right. The optics that you keep saying, using that word, the optics, it's not there when you start, especially right off the bat, right off the bat, just right out of the gate. It's not like the end of the year. Okay, we improve this, we improve this, we improve this. We got some money left over. How about if we do this? Okay. That is okay, but that's better than before you've done anything else. Bang. Let's put the money in. Like I said, everything that this director's proposing, the director benefits from. So yeah, there's some optics too that just don't sound right. I'm not going to go to the point of saying it should be fought or anything else, but I hear about this is to retain good employees, and I'm thinking to myself, this might be to retain the director. Mm-hmm. So anyway, we got Michael again saying we need to start talking about the Howell Library's $3 million budget and what people actually receive for that. That's a good thought, Michael. And I'll tell you, there's been a big stink lately about supposed President Trump cutting library budgets. Now, the last I saw, it was one of those articles that said maybe, possibly, if, could be, whatever, possibly have some cuts. That there was nothing that said they were going to get cut. This could have changed, and I just haven't seen it yet. I'm not going to take a stand on that, but I need to know. I need to know what that is. I received a call from email from the Detroit News that yesterday that unfortunately didn't get to me till today, and it was too late, about some protests that the Dems were doing over at the Howell Library. I think it was at the Howell Library. It was one of the libraries, about, the budget cuts, and what did I think about that? So first, and I reached out to Congressman Barrett's office to kind of get some data on that. And I'd love to hear exactly, I've said this in Leadership Livingston for many years, that the media plays a game called Let's Not Finish the Sentence. And here's how it goes. Or lots of media, not all media, but lots of media does this. And it goes like this. The headline might read something like, Trump cuts, Medicare by, or Medicare, yes, Medicare by $60 billion. Okay. And then if you finish the sentence, everybody gets all up in arms about that. But if the sentence was finished, it would say, and replaced it with another 100 billion or something. And but they cut it right then and there, so it says something different. And when I worked in the legislature, I wrote, I wrote bills. That PA 152 happened all the time. It was, I wrote the bill, I worked on the bill, I did PowerPoints on the bill, I explained the bill, I went everywhere talking about this bill and explaining it to insurance companies and everything else. I knew that bill inside and out, and we would be at a press release or something, and then I'd read in the paper the next day about what the bill really did. The bill did none of that stuff, and it just really frustrated me. So I used to teach in Leadership Livingston. When it comes to this kind of stuff, don't believe what you read. Read the bill. I drove this into, as a matter of fact, if I run into anybody Livingston County, Leadership Livingston of Livingston County from the last 30 years, if I look at them and say, what did I always tell you about this? They will not hesitate. Read the bill. So that's what I'm looking to do. I want to read the bill. I want to see what President Trump is going to do with that library board budget. Is he going to cut it? Is he going to, now here's what I suspect is going to come. What do you think? What do you think? I'm going to give you the guess first. What do you think he's going to do?
Well, when you started talking about it and it was a possible cut to budget and impossible, the first thing I think is the types of literature that people might just, conservatives don't think that, little Johnny or little Susie ought to be reading, single X, adult literature.
That's
so
right.
Any type of funding or any type of purchases of that type of stuff, if he cuts it, that's my guy. That's my guy. I don't have a problem with that.
Nope.
But if the media is leaving that off, he's cutting funding, and people are just going to say, oh my goodness, what are we going to do? Well,
here's what you do.
It might be very specific, like a scalpel, taking.
Well, and it might be things like, just like in the schools, you teach DEI in there, or you have DEI stuff, you're getting your funding cut.
Yep.
You have situations where you have to have, I don't know if the pronoun nonsense or whatever, you do that kind of stuff, you're going to get your funding cut. So I don't think he's just across the board cutting out libraries. But we had last week, I think, or the week before, we had a situation. Oh, I don't have it up here. I thought I did. I did have it. I don't know where it went. But wait, there it is. Podcast pictures. Okay, let me get to it. This was the where was it? Was it this? Is that the one? No, that was a, don't get me going on that one. I do want to show you this one here, because I do have it. I just saw it. Image file. I saw it up there. Right there. Okay, and I showed this last week, and I'll show it again. We got a couple of, we're taking it out of the family show thing. There's 2 paragraphs there. I did some research, okay? One of those paragraphs came from a public library that any kid can get to. The other paragraph was from Penthouse Forum. Penthouse Forum is kept behind the counter and is labeled pornography, and you have to have ID, and it's clearly labeled, and you have to have ID. You just can't pick it up and start reading it if you're a kid. So and now in the library here, the worst one, the worst one is the second one, which is the library book. And what's really bad is the pictures. They have graphic, cartoon-like pictures that go along with that second paragraph, and it shows the actual action. So this is what happens in a public library. So I suspect that the real funding cuts are if it goes along with this stuff. If you're employing DEI, or you're putting this stuff out. I know in Heartland they had one, and I don't know whatever happened. I need to, Bill Bolin, if you see this, reach out to me and let me know, or somebody reach out if you see this and you know what's going on in Heartland. They did have they brought a resolution forward to label these type books, sexually graphic books for kids. I mean, I don't know what labeling means. It could just be a sticker, or it could have for me, it should be a QR code that, you go to check it out and a warning beeps up CID. And if it's not 18, well, I'm sorry, you don't get it. So that's what I suspect it is. But, I don't see President Trump just cutting libraries for no reason whatsoever. So we'll have to see it. I think, Bill, you're correct. So let's see, back to Michael. Love the building, don't get me wrong, but we don't need to spend $3 million on a small town library to have story hour and a few field trips. Well, and there I might even kind of disagree a little bit there, because I think they do more than that. Having a library in a town is a good thing. It is a family. I mean, as long as it is a family friendly thing. I think I was talking to Chairman Runstead here a couple weeks ago, and I was telling him, my kids used to say, Mom, because we lived in the city of Howell, Mom, can I go hang up uptown? No. Mom, can I hang out at the park? No. Mom, can I go to the library? Sure. Now I think I'd be better off letting them, go drink at or go hang out at the park with whoever they're doing. That might be the better thing, the better out of the deal. So yeah, this is the kind of thing that libraries really need to keep up. I really would like to see them label. I'm not even saying get rid of them. I think they should be gotten rid of, but you know what? I feel like if you label them, if you keep kids away from them, put them in a restricted area. But Chairman Runstead told me something interesting that I did not know, because he actually looked into it, and he was told that as long as they are like cartoon, they're okay. It's not pornography unless it's actual pictures. But if you show the picture of the sexual act, including the parts that get manipulated here and there, then as long as it's cartoon, it's okay. What kind of? When did I wake up in
opposite land?
Yeah,
Crazy
really
land.
weird land. Yeah, I know.
Land, yeah.
I don't know that. So Michael says family friendly at times, DEI and LGBTQ workshops and X plus. Okay, well, it is what it is. And like I said, I feel like libraries, if they just cut that part out, but here it is. And here we are again. And those of you, who have followed this know that I got tired of the nonsense, and I started a online news source, and it's called the Right Side News, right? And it's the Right Side News, therightside.news.com. Okay. And Tyler's gonna, my good buddy Tyler over here is gonna put that in for you. It is a place where we put all our podcast posts there, so you can see old or like previous posts, and you can read the articles. And I'm going to be working on this library situation. Because I want the right side. I want the Republican side of this posted. You can't get it otherwise. All right. So
and the library board meets once a month. It's open to the public.
Yep.
I've attended. They have an agenda. They have a packet. If this is something that you're really passionate about, I would encourage, as citizens, as taxpayers, we have a right to go into that public building and sit down and listen and comment on the policies that they're making.
Yes. And, they had I know that, was it Tony Kant that was on the board, and they gave him, he tried to, they gave him the business over there. And he's a Republican. So recreation authorities are by Michigan statute fiduciaries to the public and must always put the public's interest first over their own interests. That is well said. That is said like a Republican chairman of the Board of Commissioners. And that is exactly what we want in our elected officials. I don't know that there's a Republican, and I challenge anybody coming to a Republican meeting to say differently, but that's exactly what we want in our officials, is that, we're to be fiduciaries, and it's not that we want you to go along and cut. That isn't the situation. Cut fat, build what you can. But it's like the commissioners, it's a great example. The commissioners cut a bunch of stuff that was fat, They just cut it. And then when it came time to building a EMS station in Cohocton and in Putnam Township, they didn't have to borrow, they didn't have to bond, they didn't have to do any of that stuff. They just did it. They built it, they worked it out, they built it, and without a raise in taxes. So that's what happens when you run it right. If you just blow up the money, then you don't have it when you need it. So here's Joni. Please remind the community of the next HAPRA meeting is June 17th at 6:30 at Osceola. So I encourage people to go, because it changed because people were there talking. Your township officials need to know that you're paying attention to it. So anyway, I will be as far as the right side news, I'd love for everybody to go on there and subscribe to it. You'll get it's a slow mover right now. We're just started. I've got some opinion on there, and the reason I brought it up is as I did write a opinion piece called Why It All Went Red, and over here what Michael wrote that reminded me of it. The DEI, all the workshops, and that kind of stuff that goes on, and the drag queen stuff coming out of this place. Anybody confused as why Republicans won? You go too far. If they. So I don't want libraries to go away. I don't want them having drag queens reading to kids. Kids have no business messing with little kids. Don't have no business being talked to, having sex shoved down their throats, whether it's in a movie or in a book or not, because I think most of us know once you learn about sex, life is over as you know it. That's it. You just things change. Suddenly baseball isn't as important as the girlfriend, or suddenly baseball isn't important as the boyfriend. And it's a different world. Leave the kids alone. Leave the kids out of it. And I encourage anybody out there, and really the Democrats would not have lost, I believe, if they would have just left the kids out of stuff. But when you put the boys in the girls' sports, and when you put the men in the women's sports, and you put the boys in the girls' bathrooms, and you let this stuff happen in the libraries, okay, the more you do it, and then they're arguing, they're fighting it. You should allow this. You should allow this. Please, by all means, keep fighting. It's just going to ensure President Vance, next term.
And I like libraries. I'm not out to abolish HAPRA.
Nope.
Either.
Me either.
I love my parks.
I do too.
I love the services that they provide and everything.
Yep.
But I was doing some research because I told you I had attended a couple of library board meetings, and there's take a look at their policies. Don't just look at the flashy stuff that's out on the shelf, the big headlines, but when you start going through their policies as a parent, it's like HIPAA laws. As a parent, if you say, well, Johnny came home with some strange ideas in his head and started asking me about this, that, and the other thing, I'd like to see the books that Johnny's checked out or he's been looking at. You're not allowed to.
What?
Nope. They have certain restrictions. I think there's still a loophole that you can claim that this is part of the educational program or something for my child, and I, as a parent, have a right and an input to take a look at the records. That's what it's like. I want to see Johnny's report card. They really can't hide Johnny's report card from him because it's a record of his education. The only reason that they cannot hide that from you and keep you from that information is because you can claim that is officially a record of his education that he has obtained in this public library, in the school library. So, but watch out. They try to do these types of things and keep the truth from the parents. And once you can separate, take the parents' influence away from that innocent little child, like you said, the cat's out of the bag at that point.
Well, and like I said, I guess I never thought about them withholding information like that from a parent.
That should be
I absolutely adamantly, will defend the right of a parent to know what their child is doing, what their child is reading, what their child is doing in school, what their child is, what's happening in Boy Scouts or Girl Scouts or whatever. That is the parent's right. The parent is the guardian, the parent's responsible. So, and here's the other thing. If, I don't remember where it was. Was it the Oxford guy where the parents were prosecuted? I'm not sure where it was. Maybe somebody else remembers and they can say it. But there was a kid shooter, a high school kid shooter, and the parents were prosecuted because of neglect or whatever. So here's a perfect example of how can you keep information away about your child from the parent, and then hold the parent responsible for the child's actions without being able to know what the heck is going on. That's foolish beyond description. So, but that is the left side's implementation, and that's exactly what's going on. So that needs to stop. But again, people spoke up. And in this why it all went red statement I made, it was basically they got pushed too far. Had the left had all the marbles, they just had them, and they gave them all away. They could have said, if they would have just been reasonable about the rights of the LGBTQ whatever, if they respected the parents' rights with the children, if they didn't force boys into girls stuff, if they would have just toned down that stuff, they'd still have all the kings to the kingdom. And that's exactly what I said. But they pushed everybody just one step too far, because you can be I'm a diehard Republican, there's no doubt about it, but I'm a parent first, or I'm a grandparent first. And that is the one thing, your politics are, in your kind of inner circle, but your inner circle is your family. Mm-hmm. And all those, they might have been Democrats, but they were parents first. And when their little girls were coming home crying because the boy, hurt them in the class, as far as, or they got beaten in a sport that they worked for so long by a boy, and, that had no right being in there, because the boy's body is a girl's body is
less muscular,
and I can't remember the word I used recently, but
muscle density.
It's subpar is the word. The body, not the mind. We're not talking about a chess match. We're talking about the physical. The girls just cannot compete, at least 990 times out of 1,000. So they can't compete. So that's exactly what's going on. And so the parent that hears that, they might have been Democrat, but they're parent first. And, and the girl that comes home crying and she can't go to the bathroom because there's boys walking in. Well, again, how many dads, I know my dad would have done. So how many dads that were Democrats said, bull crap for this? No way. They were Democrats, but they were parents first. The parent is in that inner circle. So, Republicans out here, your parent, husband, whatever, family member, son. But, and I've said that the girls that were, the high school girls, or the girls that had boys in their sports, and the girls that had boys in their bathroom, they got us more votes than anybody else, because their parents, their grandparents, their aunts and uncles and friends, they all voted for, sanity in that sense. So, and, that's just going on. That, you can support, I support anybody's right. I don't care what anybody does in their bedroom, and I support anybody's right to be anybody they want to be, to dress how they want to be. And as far as I'm concerned, it's none of my business. But, I don't believe drag queens should be reading to children in drag. You want to read to a kid, put on some normal clothes and go read. Even if you read, I'm not even saying cross-dressers want to read to a kid, they're reading. But a drag queen is in a different, is got a whole different costume and a whole different presentation, we'll say. So, they shouldn't be around kids. And I like I said, parents, Republican parents get mad and get active, and Democrat parents say, never mind, and back off and go and vote to whoever's going to protect their family. And they haven't figured that out. So you want to quit, as far as I'm concerned, if the left wants to keep fighting for this nonsense, I welcome a Republican governor, and I welcome President Vance in 3 years. So anyway, so that's it. All right. Well, anything interesting over at Genoa Township? I know you're here about HAPRA, but anything over there at
Yeah, well,
Genoa Township, that's fun.
yeah, we've got a big project. I mean, after we took office, we ran on certain principles. So one of the first things that we did as a board is undertake another, early review of the master plan.
Okay.
We're out there to preserve the rural character of Genoa Township for responsible development, and it is a long, drawn out, slow, involved process.
Okay.
To take something that was laid up, it's 5 weeks minimum to go ahead and review your master plan. But with recent developments, people heard about the PUD. We just thought right away we need to somehow put a box around this and protect the citizens. So that's something happening. There's always things as far as that come from different commissions that'll go over to the trustees. So always fun. We're in a little bit of a slow period right now, but these things will probably pick up. But it's a great group of people, to work with. The staff there is great. They're knowledgeable, and it's definitely an educational experience.
Mhm.
Definitely an educational experience.
So if you have to walk away with one thing you learned, how I wish I knew then what I know now. What would it be?
Oh boy. I always knew money and government, they chase each other,
Mhm.
right? You just don't know to the level. You don't know to the level that it happens, and you also find out that as I'll say, a private citizen, just an average Joe
Sure.
out there, you're just like, oh well, what are they doing there, and what are they doing there, and why would they make that silly decision? And you start finding out there's a rhyme to the reason of how ordinances are enforced and applications are put forth. So it's educational. But yeah, just like we started off with HAPRA, money is a big thing. Money makes the world go around.
It does. And
Yeah.
budgets are not, it's one thing when you're sitting in the cheap seats and you're looking and you're yelling and everything else, but it's another thing when you're actually having to make that decision. And it's also, and I've tossed around doing like a workshop on this because I've done it before and it's been helpful, but I just don't know. The timing on it's got to be right. And I'll explain that in a minute, but a workshop, because I'll tell you something, you can say when you're running, you can say, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. But it is, it's different when you're up there. And then you got a whole audience full of people that don't want you to do this, and you got to say it. And you know what? When what I've seen over the years, and I'm not, calling anybody out, but I've seen it over the years that all those things they said they were going to do, they get up there and they do exactly the opposite. They said, oh, I got to beat my predecessor because my predecessor does ABC, and then they get up there and they do ABC. And it's a hard thing. And I've tried to consider myself how I could help with that. Can I give somebody some tips? Can I work with somebody? Can I bring a panel together of new legislators and then, new electeds, and then get some longtime electeds like that absolutely rule Republican and have learned the trick to doing it. The Nick Fianis of the world, the Jay Dricks of the world, the Wes Nakagiris of the world. They are up there. And now I'm going to add Candy and Bill. It's like, how do you do it? How do you vote? Sometimes it's tough, but when you're voting, you said you were going to vote like a Republican. Are you not voting like a Republican? Why aren't you voting like a Republican? So, and some people, they use that R and they really, they use the R to get elected, and then they get up there and they vote differently. Well, that needs to be sorted out by the constituents. People need to pay attention. And this is the year to do it, because next year is, we're going to be all working on governors and, U.S. senators and everything else. But this is the time to do it. Start going to your township stuff. Look at how your members vote. Stand up and speak. When you speak, if nobody goes to those meetings, it's easy. You just vote the way you want to vote. And lots of times you get, staff recommendations because staff wants the, Staff wants
XYZ.
XYZ, so they go and there's nobody complaining about it. So, okay, we do it. But it's, so like I said, I gave Candy a big recognition after our Lincoln Day dinner. And I call her the Courage Under Fire Award because that was tough to come out of the gate, right away. She's brand new. She's not sure. And she sees this and says, wait a minute, this is not how you spend taxpayer money. So I recognized her at Lincoln Day for call the Courage Under Fire Award. So I'm happy to do that. So Michael Sims wants to know how many more car washes are in the master plan.
Let me tell you something.
But he's
Michael.
asking for a friend.
Okay. I'll tell you. Here's one of those things that Deb's saying. You didn't know, but now you know, right? Oh, sorry about that.
That's all right. I just want this to fall forward.
I'm just an innocent guy, and I said, listen, can't we say enough is enough? There's a limit, okay? There's 3 car washes per 20 square miles or something like that, and you find out that if the person that owns the property if that property is zoned for a specific use, whether it be light industrial, residential, agricultural, so it's a permitted use because of the property that they own.
Sure.
And that car wash meets all of the city ordinances, or they've got an approved deviation for that ordinance. You find out you cannot deprive that car wash owner their living.
Right.
And if you follow the law, and the law says they've crossed all the T's and dotted all the I's, enjoy your life.
Well, here's the other thing, and this is what I think people don't think about. Yes, is it annoying to see far more car washes? Here's the deal, though. It's sort of the Darwin Award here. There's a natural selection here. If those car washes are operating and functioning, that means they're needed, right? If they weren't needed, they'd have gone under. So if you'll know when you're saturated, because the car wash, somebody will open up a car wash and somebody else's will close, or that one will close. But so far, have you seen a car wash close? Show me. Is anybody watching? Have they seen a car wash close? I haven't.
No.
So that tells me either they need very little money to function, or they really are needed more than you think they are. Now,
and demand.
Yes, exactly. Supply and
is.
demand. If there weren't, if they weren't used, they wouldn't be there. They'd be closed up, and there'd be a for lease sign on the front door. There's other things that are closing up, but not car washes. They seem to be just thriving.
And banks, credit unions,
oil changes. There's an oil change every half a mile, I think. So,
but again, they've got it zoned. They meet the ordinances, and you really don't have a legal reason to say no, and you're setting yourself up for a lawsuit.
That's right.
If you do say no, because they'll get a judge that says A, B, C. They've done it all. Another thing you find out is government, even at a township level, is big. It moves slowly. Things we were being asked, what is taking so long for your master plan to get up and running? It's a slow process. Decisions are made slowly, carefully. So that's something that
master plan's not supposed to be shoot from the hip and hope.
No, but that's another thing you just find out. It's like, why does it take them so long to make a decision on this? There's a process
that's right
that you follow, and sometimes
there also has to be public input too, and that takes time. So Michael says there's a few openings shortly, which is when we'll start to see them close, maybe, or maybe not. We'll see. But that's the point. As long as they follow the rule, as long as they follow the law, and as long as they it's zoned for it, it's up to them to open it up, and it's up. They're the one risking it, right? So. It is what it is. We'll see. At some point, I've yet to see one in Livingston County close. The closest I've come is John Connolly sold his, which I was bummed because I've still got some free tickets from him. So I lost out on that.
John, you owe her some
John, you owe me some free ones, but except it's not his anymore.
Vouchers.
But they haven't closed yet, so we'll have to see. It's now I put out a challenge to the Republican world. Let's see how many car washes Livingston County can support without closing. So we'll see. But like I said, if we have to let them in, if it's zoned, we are not the ones, I think, that ought to be deciding you know, the market will either support it or it won't. And then, but then it's up to them to, you know, to determine that, not us. It's, you know, it is what it is. So I don't know. What do we need? So that brings up just a little bit of a brainstorm here. What do we need in Livingston County? Maybe that's something we need to write about. What do we need? We got a Hobby Lobby coming. I'm happy about that.
We need a professional football team.
That would be great. We tried to get the coach, the Detroit Lions coach for Lincoln Day dinner, and Jessica and I tried like every avenue we could. No. So we need nothing, we need less. I mean, there are things that we have lots of and things we don't have any of. And I would like to see some things that are more here, but I'm glad a Hobby Lobby's coming. And, you know, not just because I like Hobby Lobby and I'm very crafty and I love that kind of place, but because that whole big complex is sad.
Yes.
It's just sad. And, you know, here you got, I mean, that little Chinese place there, that used to be a good place to eat. And you know, Jay and I would go in there when like we were hungry and we didn't, you know, we wanted it now. That was a great now time to eat. But, you know, you got a jewelry store over there. As far as I know, Colt Jewelers was there 100 years. You know, you got other things over there. You got the Sally's Beauty Supply. That stuff needs an anchor. And the farm home that's over there. I love the farm home.
Yeah.
I go in there and buy stuff, food, bird food, etc. But it's that's a great place to go. But it's not enough of an anchor. You need an anchor. And that Hobby Lobby coming in means, you know, that strip there is going to get some good stuff. I miss Pier 1 too. It's a freaking mattress place. That's another thing. How are all these mattress places surviving? Have you ever, who's here? I really want to see some comments. Who has bought a mattress in a mattress place?
Mattresses last forever.
I know,
How many can you buy in a lifetime?
You know? I know. Oh, the one Tyler's telling us that the one, yeah, I did too, Michael. Tyler's telling us that the mattress place in Brighton is shutting down. But yeah, they're popping up all over the place. You know, you used to have Art Van, and then you had the mattress place here. So yeah, so now we have a mattress place in the old Pier 1, which I do miss. I love their candles. So anyway, so yeah, it just makes me wonder what we don't. I don't want Canton, as you know, Michael, as you're saying. I don't want Canton. I don't want Okemos. I don't want that kind of stuff. But you know, there are things that I would like to see here. I'm glad of the Hobby Lobby. I'm glad because I like it, but I'm also glad because it gives those stores. You know, if you know, Republicans do support business, right? We do support business. So I would.
And Hobby Lobby's a great one to support.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it is absolutely a great one to support. So it is something that I would love, you know, there's other things, but mostly I like it because it just helps those businesses. You know, I mean, Colt Jewelers has been there, you know, in my first marriage, my first fiance got me the ring there. So that's how long it was, but it was it was a long time. And I think I'm trying to remember where it used to be, over by where Planet Fitness is. It used to be next to Planet Fitness. That's how old it was. But when Planet Fitness was Kroger. So, but anyway, it's been around a long time. I'd love to see them thrive. I'd love to see, you know, another restaurant in there, you know, whether it's Chinese or not, I don't care, but I'd love to see that too. But, you know, I'd love to see that kind of stuff, but I hate business going under, and, you know,
it's inevitable because it becomes blighted. You know, and in that same strip mall, there's a few empty facilities. I remember there being an old Radio Shack in there.
Yep, I remember that. Yes,
there's a blast from the past.
Yes, it is.
I was kind of sad. I went in there every once in a while, you know, in college and everything, because of what my field of study was. But I was sad to see Radio Shack go under. You know, pull up anchor and sail away. But
that's right. Wow. It was very good. No, Michael, that's a competitor. At one time, both of those. And, you know, I don't want to get into a restaurant thing here, but I don't care for the, Michael's asking if the Chinese place, it was called Asian Fusion, and the one over across the street is something else. It is not the same as far as I know. Maybe unless you told me somebody recently bought it out. I know Jay and I have gone over there and we didn't care for it, but a couple of times we've tried it. Anyway, yeah, so it was like, we would like that, but so Michael's talking about, Michael, you're jumping around. I can't keep up with you. Just slow down here. No one had $56 cables like Radio Shack. That's the truth. That is the truth. Fusion Buffet, yes. So yes, I don't think that is the same place as Asian Fusion, but it could be. Maybe it is. But you know, the last time I went there, so Jay, if you're watching, we need to go back and check it out. Maybe it is better, but the old one but anyway, I'd like to see some restaurant go in there. I think once upon a time it used to be a Panda before it became the buffet, but it was a long time ago. But anyway, so I'd love to see another restaurant go in there. I'd love to see, you know, even if it's like a Coney Island kind of thing, although we don't need any more of those either. But you know, some kind of restaurant in there, and you know, some kind of interesting stuff. I mean, Dunham's has done a phenomenal job of holding on there.
Wow.
And they've been there they've been there. Time. I don't remember if they went there when it was, because that originally was a Walmart.
Before Walmart moved across the street.
Yes.
Yeah.
Walmart moved, well, because we didn't have a Meijer. And the order, if I remember correctly, and Jay can tell me, but the order was Walmart went in and everyone would buy, but it didn't have food. It just had that, you know, like a little bit of a 3 or 4 aisles of, you know, canned goods and whatever, like kind of like a Walgreens does. You have those couple of aisles of food, but they didn't have like a grocery store. It was just regular. And so they started going, and Jay would go there and buy our paper plates, you know, our paper plates and our, you know, our paper products and, you know, not food. And then Meijer built next door. And so when Meijer built, now Meijer's got a full service grocery store. That's when Walmart bought the property across the street and built on. And so that's when it became, I think it went from that to Elder Beerman, which I really liked Elder Beerman. And then Elder Beerman closed and I was really disappointed, but it became Carson's, and I loved Carson's.
Yeah.
So I'm still mad at Carson's for leaving because I really liked them. But anyway, Hobby Lobby's a good one because Hobby Lobby's a draw. I go to Okemos for Hobby Lobby. During our parade days, Joni and I hopped in the car and drove to, I don't remember, Novi, I think, or Wixom or something. Joni, if you're still watching, we went someplace for Hobby Lobby to buy Shamrock stuff, you know, for our parade float. So here's Michael. All right. Rest in peace, Cephas. I do remember Cephas.
You know what I think would be great? You know, you try to say, what do people, and I'll use Genoa Township, my home. What do people leave Genoa Township for and go someplace else to go do?
That's the question.
Now,
that's the major question.
Hobby Lobby
is
one of them. People go to Mary Ann's, or you know, they go to these other places.
Joann's, not Mary Ann's.
Oh, is it Joann's?
Joanne
Fabric. Sorry. Maybe Gilligan's Island out in mine or something. I don't know. But Party City just closed there.
Yes.
And it was never a hive of activity. But I mean, every once in a while, you need to go get something for a graduation party or something, a retirement party or something.
A baby shower or something. Yeah.
Or St. Patrick's. Just something, you know, graduation party. And I was kind of sad to see it go, but I mean, who knows? Maybe they could make a go of it there.
Well, and you know, but when you've got a place like Hobby Lobby, well, plus, you know, the Party City's right there by Target, which carries a lot of that stuff.
Yep.
And then now you've got Hobby Lobby, and you know, in between Brighton and Howell, so it's going to be hard for the little ones to compete. So, Michael, I'm going to give you a challenge here. What was your RIP Cephas? I'm going to ask you this without Googling. What was it before it was Cephas? What was that grocery store? So put it in there. We'll see if you know
what is it now? Family Dollar or something?
It's Family Dollar.
It's a Family Dollar, yeah.
But it was Cephas, and then it was something else. But Michael, tell me what Cephas. What was it Cephas before it was Cephas? I remember before it was Cephas. So, oh God, I'm aging myself. Nope, it was. Cephas was something before it was Cephas. What was it? What was it called before it was Cephas? Who can tell me? No Googling. So everybody's Googling right now, trying to figure that out. Yeah. So anyway, it was a grocery store. So, and there used to be 2 of them. There was one in Howell downtown. There was also one on the main 4 in Brighton.
Was it a Farmer Jack's?
No.
AMP?
No.
Chatham's?
No. It wasn't. No, Chatham's. Oh my God. Do you remember a Chatham's?
Oh yeah.
Wow. Chatham's. No, it was not a food town. Nope. It was a independent. You never heard of it. Just like Cephas. No. Well, oh my God, Michael, you must be a baby. It was not Cephas. It was called Vasios. Vescio apostrophe S, Vasios. That's what it was. So I remember when it became Cephas. That was the new grocery store in town.
Yeah.
I remember when BG's was built. So anyway, so this is a trip. So we've gone a long way from HAPRA to memory lane here, but yes, anyway. All right. Well, I think we've covered all our topics. I think one of these topics, we're going to have to get a couple people here that have been a long time, and we're going to have that discussion. What do we need here in Livingston County? Nobody wants it. You're right. Nobody wants it to look like Canton, Michael, but there are things we need, like that Hobby Lobby. That's a great thing. It's an anchor. It'll bring people here, and people that come here from other places will go across the street and eat. At the restaurants there, or they'll buy gas here, they'll get their nails done, they'll go shopping, they'll pick up, dinner from Myers or, groceries or whatever from Walmart. So they'll come and, they'll shop at Farm Home. So, buy jewelry, whatever they're going to do. So it's great stuff. It's good that they're coming, but what else do we need? I remember 100 years ago, Buddy Morehouse screaming because we didn't have a Taco Bell here, and then we finally got one, and that was headlines for him. So
you know what I did when I was a kid. My brothers and we lived in Wayne. That's where we were raised,
right.
Wayne, Michigan.
Yep.
And we would walk for blocks to get to the community center because they had a public pool with diving boards and everything. I don't know, other than I think Heartland High School has a public pool they open up, but where is a big and I'm just kind of spitballing here. Where is a big public swimming location?
That's a good idea. I think Howell had one for the longest time. Parker's, huh?
Brighton still open theirs, I think.
Is Brighton open theirs? It seemed like Howell had over at Parker. Didn't Parker have a pool? I thought they had one.
Howell High School has.
They have
one.
The swimming team, yeah.
Right, but I mean, do they open it?
I don't know. I don't know. That's a Howell Aquatic. Yeah, the Howell Aquatic Center. Okay. I think they do, and I think it's through the rec center. I think you can sort of do programs in the summer. Yeah, because you know what? They teach swimming lessons.
Yeah.
My
son
daughter and son, or my son-in-law took my grandsons. Took Henry the Shyster and Clark the Contrary. They took the swimming lessons there. So yeah, that would be, but that would be good. A public swimming. Why don't you guys got all that stupid property there? Build one. Put in your master plan. That's what you want.
We're open to suggestions.
That would be a good one. I mean, you got that property. Here's what I would do with that property. Okay.
Yeah.
You gave the keys to the kingdom of Debbie and said, go. All right. Here's what I would do. I would put in a swimming pool. That's a great idea. That's a great thing. And
a water park.
A water park.
Let's go big.
Yes.
Let's go big
go
or
big
go
or
home.
Go home. That's right. A swimming pool and a water park. Splash pads for kids, kind of like they have over at Kensington.
Right.
Okay. Yeah. So we have that. And you have a swimming pool for people, diving. That's just liability out like crazy. But you have a swimming pool, and then you have the kiddie area over there. That's like 2 feet deep, all of it. So you can keep the kids away from the older kids that are, going to be dumb. And then, you have lounge chairs or whatever, that kind of stuff for the tanners. Great. We're good. I would also build a state-of-the-art animal shelter. And what I would do is I would do a matching set. I would have your
like
animal
Noah's
shelter.
Ark, 2 of everything.
No.
Oh.
Yeah. I'm sorry. We want 2 pit bulls, not one. So I would have 1 kennel for the animal shelter. Okay. And I think what we would just do is contract it with the county. Let the county contract the building or their animal services under us. That would be perfect. I would have that big building that we would use for the animal shelter. We would adopt, we would everything else, right? Have a matching one next to it with a wall between. That's a public kennel. That's where the same employees are doing the same thing.
Board your pets.
That's business right there. And but the income from this supports this. This is now sustainable. So you also get donations. You become a private charity or, a 501c3. You get private donations. You can start heartworm programs, feral programs, working with kids, that kind of stuff. So it is, I would do that. That would, and then you become a state-of-the-art animal. Again, people come to that. You're bringing people to your community. Michael, we're not going to, look at Michael screaming at us. We'll leave green space. We got to have the dogs pee somewhere. We're okay. So we've got, you got so much land, but you guys got a farm.
Herb's
So
Farm.
what I
Is that
would
right?
do, that's where I'd put it. I'd put it out there and I'd put the big one. And then I would also have an area for horses. Like I said, because you're going to rescue horses, you're going to rescue cows, pigs, whatever, and then they adopt them out, right? That is just a good service to the community. Like I said, the county has to pay for those services. It would be cheaper for them to contract us to do it than, so they would be contributing. You'd have nonprofit stuff. The kennel would help pay for it. You'd have this big, beautiful stuff. Yeah. So then we got that. We got a swimming pool. What else do we need? What else do we need out there? Pickleball courts.
Yeah.
Pickleball is huge. It's the fastest growing fastest growing sport in the country. And really, I think it's in the world. It's growing like crazy. So it is, put some pickleball courts in and build that and people will come. Heartland is really going well, great.
Like an indoor, I've never been to one. What do they call Top Golf? But you also get those domed sports arenas, that people go
They
into.
have one of those in Brighton, yeah. They have a couple of them, I think.
Where they have
There's one in like there's one I want to say in the Silver Lake Road kind of Brighton area, the Green Oak area. It might be Legacy, and because I know this because in Leadership Livingston, I used to do strategic plans. I would teach the class how to do a strategic plan, and Legacy is one of the ones we did it for. So they have, they work with kids sports and things. So it is the Legacy Complex, according to Michael. So yes, it is that is it. So that's, that might be something. We don't have really any batting cages. I don't know how big that is, but then we don't have a great big softball.
We had
Softball
where were
world.
the batting cages? Right by Lepix was batting cages at one point.
What?
And then, yeah. And
when?
then just a few years ago.
No.
Yeah.
Get out.
No, I'm not kidding. You guys chime in if you can support me here. Help
Really?
a brother out. Help a brother out.
You know what? I'm telling you, Jay and I met playing softball.
Yeah.
We played my basement. One of these days I'm gonna bring in pictures of my basement. We have literally trophies everywhere from women's softball, men's softball, co-ed softball. And we'd always drive to Wixom to go to there was that bar in the I can't remember the name of the bar, but it was on Wixom Road, I think. And there was
Thank you, Michael.
batting cage. Yes.
There used to be one right across where Hobby Lobby is. It's that building's being proposed to come down right there. What was it? It was way back then. It was a Dick's Sporting Goods.
Oh, Dick's, I remember that, but I don't remember batting cages. I thought they were
called
proposed.
SWAT. It was called SWAT, I think, is what the name of that place was.
Oh my God! All right, well, you
so-
remember things I
so-
don't. I'm not doubting you. I just didn't
So one
know.
up at Lepix, one down at Lepix, one over here off Grant, one down. So maybe batting cage.
Maybe there's not enough. Maybe that's
There's not a
sustainable.
marketplace
Apparently,
for it.
there's a market for car washes, but not batting
guess.
cages. So.
How can we combine?
Well, right now, like I said, right now, softball's dying because they don't, there's just not the facilities aren't there anymore. And softball's dying, but pickleball's growing. So, maybe that's where you want to invest on some pickleball courts. You slap a couple paving and slap some paving down and there's the paint, you mark up the courts, the nets, and then you put the important thing is you put the windscreens on. That's important because you don't want to play against two opponents, the wind and the guy across the net from you. So anyway, but yeah, those are all fun things to do. And you guys got all that area, and Michael's right. You don't want to fill up every square inch of your park space, or your empty space, but you have lots that you could be using. So anyway, those are the things that I'd be doing. I don't know. Anybody else got any ideas out there? Make sure you let them know. The Michigan Sports Place by Ace Hardware and Grand River and Howell had batting areas, but I hear it's more focused to teams and not the. You mean the old Grundys that had batting cages?
Yeah.
Where did you live? Because man, I do not remember this at all. Batting cages in Grundy's? Are you talking about you said the one on Grand. There's only one on Grand River. That's Grundy's. There is a sports place, the old Dollar General. Yes, that's a sports place, but they have batting cages in there, or they did. I don't remember that. That used to be a pizza place. That used to be Val's Pizza.
Val's
Pizza. Val's was the secret
Velacio's,
sauce.
yeah.
Vatios.
Vatios.
Yeah, Val's Vatios. So yeah, this is and Grundy's actually was an A&P.
Baseball facility. Huh?
Yeah, I don't remember there being a baseball facility ever there. Really? Well, but it's not. Is it batting cages in there you can actually hit? Oh, not traditional outdoor. Okay, or maybe that's what it is. Okay, good. I thought I was losing my mind. No, that Grundy's Ice Hardware used to be, before it was Grundy's, it was an A&P. So anyway, all right. Well, we've gone down memory lane a lot. I think we've covered a lot of ground. We've covered what's going on in Genoa Township. We've covered what's going on in HAPRA, and most importantly, what's not going on. You know, if they want to do 4 weeks paid, that's great. I question this extra emergency thing on top of a extremely generous.
That's pretty generous.
Personal time off. Yeah, that's craziness. So hopefully, you know, the people that go down there speak their mind about this. If you want your, you know, again, the optics are terrible. You just cried poor, and what did you say? Emptied your pockets, and suddenly,
turn your pockets
suddenly
out.
everybody's got time and money to put on vacations and extra pay. So anyway, let's put that money in, like you promised. Let's put it into the sports, and not, well, we've done a couple sports, but now we get to, you know, come to us. Maybe rather than a management consultant, maybe you need to get a budgeting consultant and, you know, figure that out, because it, you know, that money should be going, that money was you guys promised you would exclusively keep it into programming, put it in programming. Everybody loves the rec center. Everybody loves the rec authority. Everybody loves the rec programs, but, you know, and nobody wants, nobody begrudges employees getting pay raises,
Right.
or, you know, normal, reasonable personal time off, or reasonable 401k plans or whatever. But you start having Cadillacs in there, and, you know, the optics aren't good. So anyway, all right. Well, we're going to go to commercial here, and we'll come back, and I want to make a couple statements about I want to kind of recap Lincoln Day, and then we're going to call it a night. Now and then we're going to talk about next week's show too. So we'll be right back.
Ready to make your real estate dreams a reality? Meet Lisa R., your trusted expert in Livingston County. With 25 years in the real estate marketplace, she offers a seamless, stress-free experience. As a Real Estate One agent, Lisa has access to a network of over 2,000 agents and a one-stop shop for mortgage, title, and insurance services. Call Lisa R. at 734-260-7277 or visit her at Real Estate One in Brighton. Let her help you find your dream home or sell your property with confidence.
Hello, I'm Mary Beth Patrikis, Mama Bear Productions, and I work with people who are motivated yet frustrated with their health and are looking for simple ways to look and feel their best. You may contact me at my email address, which is maryBeth@mamabearproductions.net. That's marybeth@MAMA, bear like the animal, productions.net, and we can set up a time to talk to see how, working together, you can thrive in life.
The Exalted Christ Ministry offers resources to help you understand historic Christianity. Visit theexaltedchrist.com for articles, podcasts, and a video series exploring scripture and key historical topics. Get free resources today at www.theexalted.
Bunny's Fabulous Seasoning is a fantastic new blend of herbs and vegetables made in Livingston County. Add a tablespoon to homemade breads, soups, stews, meat, poultry, vegetables, casseroles, sauces, and more. To order, email Bunny's Fabulous Seasoning at gmail.com or message the Bunny's Fabulous Seasoning Facebook page. It's time to divorce your Marry Me Chicken and take advantage of free delivery in and around Livingston County. Bunny's Fabulous Seasoning, the only seasoning you need.
And we're back. Okay, so that was a great show. Loved Representative Posthumus's energy and his dedication to this voting issue. So I really want everybody to jump onto that. Once again, I'm going to put that website up there for anybody that missed it earlier. Where are we here? Nope, that's not the one. Let's get to it. It was right there. Prove It, Michigan. There we go. So go on that. You can donate there. They really need to raise a lot of money for that, and they also need to need petition thing. They'll give the training. They'll do all that stuff. So we'll have to all of us jump into that. So anyway, so having said that, want to again thank people for Lincoln Day. Lincoln Day was a great success. I think that we had a great program. We had, Coach Joe Kennedy from, he's the man who was the coach that prayed on the field and was fired for it, took it all the way to the Supreme Court. So we had Ryan Kelly came and spoke about his J6 imprisonment. So it was a great thing. But the other thing that I think that I was told helped or made it a good show was the awards. We had a special little award ceremony. It wasn't, normally we just have a few awards, but this one was a lot of thank yous to people that, helped, on a regular basis, not just, it was great that people helped once, but the people that committed themselves to doing ongoing projects, I made sure that I recognized. So we gave certificates of recommendation. But I also want to congratulate our corporate sponsor of the year, who is Anna Rodriguez Pelizari, for her ongoing sponsorship between Per Inc. and 2A. We get a lot of help from them. They're there when we need them, so that's terrific. And our Sunshine Awards, brand new award. It's for that person person or persons who show up ready, willing, with a smile, always, upbeat, brings you can just see that they elevate the other people's energy. And I gave that, deservedly to Joni and Tom Econom. So I appreciate them. The Volunteers of the Year, I shocked them right out of speech, was Mike and Sharon Statton. Anybody that's been around our party sees them checking people in, doing what's necessary, whether it's cleaning up the Victory Center or taking on the membership committee. They do it. So they got the Volunteer of the Award. And then, of course, our Republican of the Year was Commissioner Frank Sample for his absolute open door support. We needed a building. He gave us he let us move into his office in unused space for a reasonable price. And when we wanted the parade, he loaned us the flatbed. He pulled the flatbed. He gave us a generator to use. He's going to do it again in Independence Days. We're going to do it again. He's a table sponsor at our Lincoln Day dinner. A lunch sponsor, a breakfast sponsor at an event. So, he's always there when we need him. And, he also sponsors a lot of candidates too. So, that was a well-deserved. So congratulations to Commissioner Sample for his, recognition. I'd love to have 50 other recognitions for people. So, I want to thank Lisa R. for stepping up. We appreciate Pam Atkins and her work on kicking off our fourth Thursday social. I do appreciate that she did that. But she has, new grandson and, a mom in health with health concerns. So she's got busy. So we appreciate her kicking off the fourth Thursday, but she's unable to continue. Lisa R., without missing a beat, stepped right up and offered to do it. So thanks, Lisa R., for doing that. Our next social. Let me get into some social stuff that's coming. June is membership month. So happy membership month. And we've got a list of stuff that's coming. So Thursday is our Thursday, June 5th is our executive committee meeting, our membership meeting, or it's just a general Republican meeting. And that is bring a Republican or bring a friend to the meeting. We've got special activities special activities and a special program to, kind of welcome people that are coming that haven't been there. We have on the chair's perspective, you guys that have been coming regularly see that I build on some trainings on short little trainings that kind of educating people. Well, we've got, what are stakeholders? So we've got that coming. And that's a really good explanation of things that happen in Lansing and how our laws get made and where those ideas come from and why. So what are, the stakeholders are going to be there, and we have a guest there coming in to speak. That's Thursday, bring a friend to the meeting. On Saturday, our executive committee member, Michelle Blondeel has thrown it down, and she and I are going to throw down on a pancake flipping contest. We're going to be here at the Victory Center Saturday morning, 9:00. Bring a friend to breakfast. So find yourself a conservative friend that isn't a member of the party and bring them. Let them introduce themselves. You bring a friend and a dish to pass. Your friend does not need to bring a dish to pass. So bring a breakfast dish to pass. It could be fruit, it could be muffins, it could be bacon, it could be whatever. But Michelle and I will be throwing down on the pancakes. So we're going to have our griddles going. And so we're going to need judges. So we're going to have pieces of paper and the buckets, and you vote on the best pancakes and off they go. So we're going to have that. And I make in my family, they're called bunny cakes. So I make a mean bunny cake. So we'll see. But then again, Michelle Blondeel is quite a cook too. So it's going to be, you know what, you can't lose, right? You're going to get a good couple of pancakes out of the deal. So we're looking for people. So you can RSVP to me, chair at Livingston Republicans with an S.com, or membership at livingstonrepublicans.com. And just, we're coming, and this is where, and this is, we're going to bring a friend or whatever, just so we kind of know about how many people are coming. So it's going to be here at the Victory Center, 9 to, noon or so, but it's going to be fun, and it's going to be good. It's going to be good friends and good food and good conversation. So we're going to have the Victory Center, set up for this. So please hopefully come. On the 12th, our youth chair, Spencer, is going to have his euchre party. That's going to benefit the youth organization, or they call themselves Next Gen. Okay, Next Gen is going to benefit from this euchre tournament on the 12th. By the way, Spencer's looking for sponsors. So if you if you ever thought about being a sponsor, but you don't want to spend a lot of money, this is right up your alley. $25 to sponsor a table. And that money will go towards some prizes. It'll also go towards the refreshments. It'll also go in the bank for them, so they can, buy printing and buy stuff for their events, because they're really going to kick off involve the youth in things this summer. So if you can come, if you play cards, or if you don't play cards, it's I think $10 a person if you're for an adult, but anybody under 18. By the way, this is a youth event, so feel free to bring your teenagers, your grandkids, your kids, whatever, and bring them, and they can play. They'll play free. So, and there'll be prizes and everything else. There'll be at least first, second, and third prizes. So, he's anxious about this, and he and I guess Krish from the state party vice chair, the youth vice chair, is working with him, and they're looking forward to it. So that's on the 12th. On the 18th, we have at the American Legion, starting at I think it starts at 6:30, but I think some of us are going to go there like at 5:30 and eat. American Legion, we're going to have dance classes. It's going to be fun. Don't worry if you have 2 left feet. Don't even worry if you don't have a partner. Just show up. We'll partner with somebody. And, you're going to learn the swing, you're going to learn the waltz, you're going to learn the tango. And I've done this before with this instructor, and it is a blast. don't think that we're there to make fun of anybody, or that we're gonna you have to perform, or you're gonna be on, we're gonna just have fun. That's all. That's the whole point. We're gonna have fun. That is Wednesday, June 18th. Like I said, show up about 5:30, get dinner, and then let's support. Also, I have offered to have the American Legion. Anybody there can join us, so that's just fine. So let's partner with some veterans there. We're going to do that on the 18th, and on the 4th, Thursday, we're going to have here at the Victory Center. We're going to have a grill. We're gonna barbecue some hot. We're going to grill some dogs, and it's going to be a potluck. But again, it'll be bring a member. So bring a friend to the euchre tournament. Bring a friend to the ballroom dancing. Just let me know. Again, chair@livingstonrepublicans.com. Let me know you're coming. Bring a member to dinner on the 4th Thursday, and bring a member to breakfast on this next Saturday on the 7th, and then bring a friend to the meeting on Thursday. That'll be a good meeting. And the last thing I want to say is next week we have, speaking of Spencer, our youth chair, Spencer and Krish will both be here to talk about that euchre tournament, and also to kind of let you know what exactly are they going to be doing. How are we going to involve the youth? What's the plan? How are we going to use them? What are they going to do? All that kind of stuff. But also we have Mike Rogers coming in. The next week kicks off our statewide candidate meet and greet. So we're going to have him out here to talk, answer questions, tell us about his plans, his thoughts. And I said it last week, and I'm going to say it again. Everybody, I am not a believer in negative campaigning. So if you are supporting somebody else, or you don't want to support him, that's fine. Just keep it to yourself. I don't want attacks on him on here. Anybody that attacks is going to get blocked. I'm sorry, it's just how it is. I'm not going to have, we're not going to embarrass a candidate. It's a lot for a candidate to step up and do something. And, you don't want to vote for him, don't vote for him. You don't want to support him, don't support him. Don't give him money if you want to. But if you have a reasonable question, ask the question, like, how are you going to do this? Or what do you think about this? But any kind of attack, and that it's going to get blocked right away. Tyler's on notice. So that's going to get blocked. So let's not say we need somebody better. Let's not say I don't like you. Just let it go. Watch, listen, learn. You'll either find reasons you like them, or you'll find reasons you don't. And that's okay. That's how this process works. We will have all our candidates on here for you to do that, but I'm not going to have any of them attacked out here. The whole purpose of the right side, and I say this very strongly and sincerely, the whole purpose of the right side is to allow Republicans a safe place to discuss their thoughts without getting attacked, without being beat up, without having their motives questioned or anything else. That's what this is for. We get that from the left. We don't need that from our own people. So it's okay not to support somebody, but we're just not going to do it here. That will be a quick block. It will not come up on the screen. It'll just get blocked, and then your name will be blocked off of it. So please just watch and listen, and ask a good question. Ask a question about what he thinks about this, or is he going to support this? But any kind of bait and switch, or any kind of bait up there is not going to get up there. So let's just remember that. That's going to kick off next week. I have verbal commitments from Mike Cox. I have verbal commitments from Eric Nesbitt. I have a verbal commitment from John James. So we've got people that are going to step up and come here. And I have also decided that what I'm going to do is, if they come on this podcast, within 90 days, we're going to have a physical meet and greet. So let's get to know them a little bit through the podcast. Let's ask them the questions. Let's listen to what we have. And then we'll have a physical meet and greet where you can come and meet them. And if you like them, you can donate. If you don't like it, you don't have to donate. Maybe they'll have signs. Maybe they won't. Maybe you have a place to sign up to you can sign a signature or whatever, but we'll have meet and greets for all of them that come on this podcast. So, for me, my job is to educate you. My job is to not tell you how to think. It's not to tell you how to vote. It's to give you as much information as you can, so you make an educated vote, so you make an educated decision, not based on what you've read on Facebook, and not based on what somebody else has told you. use your own ears, use your brain. You don't like somebody, don't vote for them. You do like somebody, vote for them. You do like them, knock on doors. If you do like them, give them money. But nobody's going to pressure anybody. I just want everybody to see everybody. So I'm going to get everybody here I can that is willing to come, and I'm going to get them here in person in a meet and greet situation afterwards. So again, want to give you guys as many opportunities to learn about these candidates as you can. And I want to do it early. I know it seems early, but the thing is, they're going to have to get their petition signed here pretty soon. And then next year, we don't have time to learn about people. We're going to be hitting the ground running. As Rep. Posthumus said earlier, Michael Duggan is nobody to screw with. He is in a situation that, depending on what we do, he could either smear us or help us. But the only way he'll help us is if we have active voters. All right, active voters behind a strong candidate. And we can't do that if we don't know about the candidates. And we can't do that if we haven't learned about them. We can't do that unless we totally buy into them. And once that primary is over, and you're going to hear me say this a lot, hold thy nose and vote. Stay thee not home. Hold thy nose and vote. I don't care if you don't like them. Remember, when it comes to this kind of stuff, the first vote is the majority leader. In Mike Rogers' case, it's the Senate majority leader. And if you got a Dem there, don't tell me there's no difference between Mike Rogers and a Dem, because a Dem is going to vote for a Dem majority leader, and Mike would vote for a Republican one. So it is vital that we have a Republican. Okay, so having said all that, I'm looking forward to getting Mike on the show and letting him tell you everything. And like I said, make your decision at that point. Somebody else pops up, we'll get him on the show too, or her. So we'll have to see how that goes. But Mike is coming next week, and I'm excited to kick this off. And I'm excited to hear what he has to say. Mike is a personable guy. Whether I think, did I hear an endorsement today? Yeah, our sheriff endorsed Mike today. So that, there's an endorsement there too. So I'll tell you right now, he's got an endorsement from Senator John Kennedy from Louisiana. And oh my God, I want him on this show. So just so you know, I am working hard on the back channels to get him on this show. I doubt he'll be here in person, but if I can get him to remote in, I will be one happy bunny, let me tell you. All right, so next week we'll see ya. We got Mike Rogers coming in. Bring your questions. Let's challenge him, and then let's also talk to Chris and Spencer about their upcoming youth tournament. So I will see you all on Thursday. Bring a friend. We have a great meeting. So thanks, and you guys have a great week.